At 22 years old, I was paying a good part of my parents' household expenses. I paid quietly, every month, without reminders at first. Then, eventually, because the reminders came before I even had the chance to breathe, I helped with the mortgage, groceries, utilities, repairs, insurance, the thousand small costs that kept a house standing and a family pretending it was fine. And still, one Thursday night, I came home from work and found my life stacked in the hallway. My books were there first. Programming books, old notebooks from college, folders full of printed code, sticky notes curled at the edges. They were piled inside two cardboard boxes that had once held canned peaches from Costco. Some of the covers were bent. One book lay open on the carpet, face down, like someone had thrown it there and forgotten it was mine. Beside them were trash bags stuffed with my clothes. Not folded, not sorted, just shoved in. A sleeve from my favorite gray hoodie hung out of one bag like an arm reaching for help. My laptop sat on a dining chair against the wall. The lid was open. That was what made me stop breathing. The screen glowed pale blue in the dim hallway. Too many incorrect password attempts. Try again later. For a few seconds, I did not move. Rainwater dripped from my coat onto the carpet. My fingers were stiff from the cold, still wrapped around my car keys. Somewhere deeper inside the house, a cartoon blasted from a television. A child laughed. Someone told him to turn it down, but no one sounded serious. My phone buzzed in my pocket again. I already knew what it would be before I looked. Another security alert. Someone had tried to log into my personal email less than 20 minutes earlier. Before that, my bank had sent a 6-digit verification code I had never requested. On the drive home, I had told myself it was probably nothing. A glitch. A random attempt. The kind of thing everyone got now and then. But my laptop was open. My things were in the hall. And my bedroom door was wide open. I walked toward it slowly, the way a person walks toward a noise in the dark, even though every nerve in her body is screaming not to. The room at the end of the hallway had been mine since I was 12. It was not large, but it had been the only place in that house where I could close a door and feel, at least for a few hours, like I belonged to myself. That room had held my textbooks, my cheap desk, my secondhand monitor, my whiteboard full of diagrams, my certificates from school, my late nights, my silence. Now the bed had superhero sheets, bright blue, red masks, explosions printed across the pillowcase. My desk was gone. The wall where my programming notes had been taped was covered with posters of cartoon robots and basketball players. My little bookshelf had been emptied and shoved sideways near the closet, now full of plastic bins. A game console hummed on the floor, wires running across the rug. My 7-year-old nephew, Noah, sat cross-legged in the middle of my bed, holding a controller with both hands. He looked up at me and grinned. "Aunt Emily, look, this is my new room." I stared at him. He was innocent. That was the worst part. He had no idea what had happened. No idea that the bed he was bouncing on still had the dent my body had made after years of sleeping there. No idea that the desk they had removed was where I had built the one thing that might finally get me out of that house. No idea that the adults around him had turned him into an excuse. "It's cool, right?" he asked. My throat tightened. Before I could answer, Vanessa appeared behind me. My older sister leaned against the doorway with her arms crossed, looking pleased in a way she did not even try to hide. Vanessa Carter Hayes had always been beautiful in the effortless way that did not actually require effort from her, only from everyone around her. Long, honey blonde hair, perfect nails, soft sweater, gold bracelet, lips curved like she had been waiting all day for this exact moment. "Oh," she said, "you're home." I looked at her, then at the hallway, then back at my room. "What did you do?" Vanessa lifted one shoulder. "We moved Noah in here. You moved Noah into my room." "He needs more space," she said. as if explaining something obvious to a slow child. He has school stuff, toys, clothes. That tiny room was ridiculous for him. My mother, Linda Carter, came out from the kitchen wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her eyes were already wet, which meant she had known this would be bad and had decided to do it anyway. "Emily, honey," she said softly, "we were going to talk to you." I laughed once. It sounded nothing like me. "After moving all my things?" "We didn't want you to get upset before we finished," she said. "Before you finished taking my room?" My father stepped into the hallway behind her. Robert Carter had the tired face of a man who had spent years avoiding fights by calling his silence peace. He did not look at my laptop. He did not look at the boxes. He looked at the floor. "It's just temporary," he said. "How temporary?" No one answered. The cartoon in the room kept playing. I turned to my mother. "Where am I supposed to sleep?" She twisted the dish towel in both hands. "Well, just for a few nights. You could use the couch. You're barely home anyway, sweetheart. Work, your computer, all those late nights." Vanessa made a small sound, almost a laugh. "And the small room?" I asked. My mother's eyes dropped. Vanessa answered for her. "I'm using it for my clothes. Mark and I don't have enough closet space, and with everyone in the house, we all need to adjust." We all need to adjust. I paid $900 a month to live in that house. $900, while Vanessa paid almost nothing. While her husband complained about every bill. While their son got my room and my sister got a dressing room. And I got the couch. I looked again at my laptop. Too many incorrect password attempts. Something inside me went cold and very, very still. Because in that moment, I understood something I should have understood much earlier. They did not only want my room. They wanted access to my money, to my work, to whatever they suspected I had hidden from them. And the most frightening part was that they had stopped pretending they needed permission. 6 months before that night, I had almost moved out. I had even toured a studio apartment near my office, a clean little place on the 4th floor of an older building with loud pipes and a view of a brick wall. It had been nothing special. The kitchen was barely wide enough to turn around in. The bedroom was really just a corner separated by half a wall. The bathroom had a cracked tile near the sink. But when the leasing agent opened the door and let me step inside, I had nearly cried. Not because it was beautiful, because it was quiet. I stood in that empty studio and imagined my desk by the window, my laptop open, a pot of coffee on the counter, my shoes by the door, no one calling my name from downstairs, no one walking in without knocking, no one asking why the light was still on, no one making me explain why I needed silence. At that time, I had just graduated with a computer science degree from a private university in Chicago. My parents had helped pay for it, and I knew it had not been easy. They had taken loans. My father had worked overtime for years at the logistics company where he handled warehouse schedules. My mother had picked up extra shifts at the dental office where she worked the front desk. They had done what parents say they will do but do not always manage to do. They had invested in me. I never forgot that. Maybe that was my first mistake. I mistook gratitude for debt. During my junior year, I had interned at Bright Shield Technologies, a mid-sized software company that built security tools for residential and small business clients. I was supposed to spend the summer testing code and fixing minor bugs. Instead, by the end of the 2nd month, I had rewritten a broken notification module that 3 full-time developers had been complaining about for weeks. Daniel Brooks, my manager, called me into his office the next day. I remember sitting across from him with my knees pressed together, convinced I was in trouble because I had touched code no intern was supposed to touch. Instead, he turned his monitor toward me and said, "Did you write this patch?" "Yes," I said. "Alone?" "Yes." He leaned back, studied me for a moment, and smiled. "When you graduate, call me before you accept anything else." I did. And Bright Shield offered me a full-time junior software engineer position before most of my classmates had finished polishing their resumes. The salary was good for someone my age. Not rich, not glamorous, but enough. Enough for rent, groceries, student loan payments, savings, and maybe, if I was careful, a life that belonged to me. I was ready to leave. Then my parents asked me to stay. It happened during dinner. I remember because my mother had made pot roast, the kind she made when she wanted everyone to feel like things were normal. My father barely touched his food. He kept moving carrots around his plate with the side of his fork. My mother cleared her throat. "Emily, honey," she began. I looked up. There was a careful softness in her voice, the kind people use when they have already decided to ask for something painful. "Your father and I were talking," she said, "and we were wondering if maybe you could stay here a little longer." I blinked. "Stay?" "Just for a while," she said quickly. "I know you've talked about getting your own place, and of course, we want that for you. We do. But things have been tight." My father finally looked at me. "The house is getting expensive," he said. "Property taxes went up again. Insurance, too. Utilities are ridiculous. Your mom's hours got cut last month, and I don't know how much longer they'll approve overtime at work." My mother reached across the table and touched my hand. "If you stayed and helped a little with the bills, it would take a huge weight off us." I looked from one face to the other. They seemed embarrassed, not entitled, not demanding, just tired. And because I loved them, that was all it took. "How much help?" I asked. My father swallowed. "$900 a month," he said, "just until we get caught up." $900 was not a little help. Not to me, not then. It was the difference between moving out and staying, between buying furniture for myself and continuing to sleep in my childhood bed, between ordering takeout after a bad day and eating leftovers because I had already transferred money to my parents. But they had paid for school. They had sacrificed. They had believed in me before anyone at Bright Shield knew my name. So I nodded. My mother exhaled like she had been holding her breath for hours. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, squeezing my hand. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this helps." At first, she meant it. The first month, she hugged me when I sent the transfer. The second month, my father said, "You're really saving us right now." The third month, my mother left a little sticky note on my bedroom door with a heart drawn beside the words, "Thank you." By the sixth month, there were no notes. By the ninth, if I sent the money on the second instead of the first, my mother texted before breakfast. "Did you forget the house money?" The house money. Not help, not contribution. The house money. I told myself not to be sensitive. People got used to things. That did not mean they were using me. Families adapted. Maybe I was overthinking. That was another thing I was good at, building excuses for other people and calling it understanding. My older sister, Vanessa, never bothered with excuses. She had always been honest about what she valued, even when she pretended otherwise. Vanessa was 29, 7 years older than me, and had spent most of her adult life performing success rather than building it. She was married to Mark Hayes, who worked in sales for a construction supply company and used to make decent money. They had Noah, a sweet, loud, sticky-fingered boy who loved dinosaurs, chocolate cereal, and asking questions no adult wanted to answer. They rented an apartment in a newer complex, closer to downtown, the kind with a fitness center, a package room, fake marble counters, and a lobby that smelled like expensive candles. Vanessa liked to take selfies in the elevator mirror because the lighting made her look like she lived somewhere richer than she did. She worked part-time at a boutique in a shopping center, which she described as something for myself, though everyone knew the real reason was the employee discount. Vanessa loved clothes, shoes, hair appointments, brunch, seasonal candles, organic snacks for Noah, subscription boxes, and restaurants with menus that did not include prices online. She also loved saying money was just energy, usually right before asking someone else for it. One Sunday afternoon, she came to our parents' house with Mark and Noah for dinner. I had been in the kitchen pouring coffee when she looked me up and down. "Oh my God, Emily," she said. I looked at her over the rim of my mug. "What? That shirt again?" I glanced down at my blue t-shirt. It was clean, soft from too many washes. There was nothing wrong with it. What about it? I saw you wearing that in a picture last year. So you're 22, she said. You have a real job now. You can buy new clothes. I have clothes. Vanessa made a face. You dress like you're trying to disappear. Maybe I was. Mark laughed from the living room where he sat beside my father watching football. He probably had not even heard the whole conversation. Mark laughed whenever Vanessa expected him to. My mother gave me a small apologetic smile from the stove, as if Vanessa's comments were weather we all had to endure. I'm fine, I said. Vanessa leaned against the counter and lowered her voice, though not enough. This is why you're still single. Men like women who look like they care. I could have answered. I could have said I did not dress for men. I could have said being single was not a disease. I could have said at least my credit card was not maxed out for the sake of strangers' opinions. But I didn't, because I knew what would happen. Vanessa would get offended. My mother would tell me not to start. My father would suddenly become fascinated by the game. And somehow I would be the problem. So I drank my coffee and said nothing. Later that same evening, after dinner, Vanessa found me alone in the kitchen loading the dishwasher. Her voice changed completely. I did not turn around. What? Can I ask you something? There it was, the soft voice. The one she used when she wanted something. I slid a plate into the rack. How much? She laughed like I was being funny. Not accurate. Don't be like that. How much, Vanessa? $250. I closed the dishwasher and looked at her. For what? She sighed dramatically. There's this dress at the boutique. It's gorgeous. And with my discount, it's practically a steal. But we're a little tight this week because Noah's winter boots were more expensive than I thought, and Mark's check was weird, and She smiled. I'll pay you back next Friday. She would not. We both knew she would not. But she was smiling at me with the same face she used in family photos. The face that said we were sisters, and surely that meant something. I pulled out my phone and sent the money. Her phone chimed. Her smile widened. You're the best sister in the world. I'm your only sister. She hugged me quickly, one arm around my shoulders, already looking down at her screen. The warmth lasted exactly as long as the transfer. That night, after everyone left, I went upstairs and opened my laptop. SafeNest was waiting for me. Back then, it was still just a private project. A messy folder full of ugly test code, half-finished interface screens, and notes written at 2 a.m. I had started it because BrightShield's products frustrated me. Most home security software was either too complicated for ordinary people or too simple to be truly useful. Cameras picked up everything. A branch moving, a dog crossing the yard, headlights passing a window, a person approaching a back door. People got so many false alerts that they stopped paying attention. I wanted to build something better. SafeNest would connect to ordinary home cameras, not just expensive systems. It would learn patterns. It would tell the difference between a person, a pet, a car, a shadow. It would let users set smart schedules, quiet hours, alert zones. It would be simple enough for my mother to use, if she ever stopped complaining about technology long enough to try. Most nights, I came home from BrightShield, ate dinner, helped clean up, then disappeared into my room. I worked until my eyes burned, sometimes until 1 a.m. Sometimes later, my mother would knock gently and open the door without waiting. Emily, honey, go to bed. You'll ruin your eyes. I'm almost done. You always say that. Her gaze would drift to the monitor, to the lines of code she did not understand. And that computer running all night must be awful for the electric bill. Electric bill. Not what are you building. Not are you excited? Not you work so hard. Just the electric bill. After she left, I sometimes heard my father in the hallway. She spends every night on that thing, he once muttered. How's she supposed to meet anyone? I sat very still at my desk. The screen blurred for a second. Then I kept typing. It was easier to let them believe I was wasting time than to explain a dream to people who would only measure it in utility costs. Vanessa noticed things, though. Not the work, never the work. The money. She started with little comments. You must make decent money at that job, right? Enough, I said. What's enough? Enough for me. She smiled. But you live here. You don't pay real rent. You don't go out. You don't buy clothes. Where does your money go? To bills. Everyone has bills, Em. I learned to shrug. She began saying things in front of my mother. It's kind of weird, don't you think? Emily is so private about money. My mother would glance at me. She's always been private. Vanessa would tilt her head. Private is one thing, secretive is another. I pretended not to hear. But I noticed my mother beginning to ask questions too. Not aggressively. That would have been easier. Softly. Are you saving a lot, honey? A little. How much is a little? Enough. For what? I don't know yet. She would look disappointed, as if my savings were a family secret I was cruelly keeping from her. One night, I came home early and found Vanessa in my room. She was standing beside my desk with one drawer half open. The drawer where I kept old bank statements, warranty papers, and an external hard drive. She jumped when she saw me. Oh, she pressed a hand to her chest. You scared me. This is my room, I said. I know. No one needed a marker. In my bank drawer? Her expression hardened for half a second before smoothing out. Bank drawer? God, Emily, listen to yourself. I was looking for a marker. There are markers downstairs. Well, I didn't know that. She pushed the drawer closed with her hip and smiled in a way that made my skin prickle. You're getting really paranoid. Maybe I was. That night, I moved every important document into a locked drawer at work. I changed my laptop password, then my email password, then my bank password. Then I enabled two-factor authentication on everything. I told myself I was being careful, not scared. Careful. But fear has a way of calling itself other names until it becomes impossible to ignore. By spring, the house no longer felt like home. It felt like a place where I rented a childhood I had already outgrown. Every month, $900 left my account and disappeared into the family budget. Every week, Vanessa found some new reason to remind me that I was strange, unfeminine, too quiet, too cheap, too single, too serious. Every night, I built Safe Nest with the stubborn faith of someone carving a door into a wall no one else could see. The strange thing was, I did not hate them. That would have made everything cleaner. I love my parents. I remembered my mother staying up all night when I had pneumonia in middle school. I remembered my father driving me to school through snowstorms, one hand on the wheel, the other holding gas station coffee. I remembered Vanessa painting my nails when I was 8 and letting me sleep in her room after I watched a horror movie I was too young for. Memory is cruel that way. It hands you the good moments exactly when you need the strength to admit how bad things have become. So I stayed. I paid. I coded. I swallowed comments and called it peace. And all the while, Vanessa watched. She watched my old shirts and my careful spending. She watched my closed bedroom door. She watched the way I turned my laptop away when she came too close. She watched my mother's worry and my father's silence. She watched the house grow more dependent on my money. I did not know it yet, but she was already building a story about me. In her version, I was selfish, secretive, cold, a daughter who owed more than she gave, a sister who had money hidden somewhere and simply refused to share. And once Vanessa decided on a story, she had a gift for making everyone else live inside it. The first real crack came on a Tuesday evening. I was at my desk at Brightshield, reviewing a motion detection bug, when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Can you come straight home after work? I stared at the message. Something about it made my stomach tighten. No heart, no honey, no explanation. Just come straight home. I replied, everything okay? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, she answered, we'll talk when you get here. Outside the office windows, the sky over Chicago had turned the color of wet concrete. Rain tapped against the glass. On my monitor, SafeNest's test environment flickered with camera feeds. An empty porch, a driveway, a tree bending in the wind. The software correctly ignored the tree. No alert, no threat. I wished life worked that way. I wish there were some clean algorithm that could tell the difference between danger and family, between love and control, between help and surrender, but there wasn't. So I packed my laptop, zipped my coat, and drove home through the rain, not knowing that the life I had been quietly trying to protect was about to be dragged into the hallway for everyone to see. When I pulled into the driveway that Tuesday evening, I knew something was wrong before I even turned off the engine. There were too many cars in front of the house. My parents' old silver sedan sat in the driveway, pushed crookedly to one side. Vanessa's white SUV was parked half on the curb, half in the street, like she had arrived in a hurry and decided rules were for people with less dramatic problems. Behind it was Mark's black pickup truck, the back loaded with boxes, trash bags, a folded stroller Noah had outgrown years ago, and a floor lamp wrapped in a blanket. The front door was open, not unlocked. Open. Cold rain blew in through the doorway, darkening the welcome mat and making the entryway smell like wet cardboard. I sat in my car for a few seconds, with my hands still on the keys. My mother's text echoed in my head. Can you come straight home after work? We'll talk when you get here. I had imagined a medical bill, a broken water heater. Maybe my father had lost overtime. Maybe the mortgage company had called. I had spent the entire drive preparing myself to be useful because that was what I did best in that house. I turned fear into spreadsheets. I turned worry into transfers. I turned other people's emergencies into my responsibility. But when I stepped inside, I saw Vanessa standing in the middle of the living room, like a queen surveying a disaster she expected servants to clean up. Suitcases covered the floor. Noah's toys spilled from plastic bins. A laundry basket sat on the couch, full of shoes. Someone had placed a framed wedding photo of Vanessa and Mark on the coffee table, as if they were not arriving but reclaiming territory. There were grocery bags, pillows, blankets, a stack of plates wrapped in dish towels, and 3 enormous black trash bags that appeared to contain clothes. My mother hurried past me with a box in her arms. "Oh, good, you're home," she said, breathless. I looked at the living room, then at Vanessa. "What's going on?" Vanessa turned. For once, she did not look polished. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. Her mascara had smudged under one eye. She wore leggings, a long cardigan, and the expression of someone who expected pity before explanation. "Mark lost his job," she said. The words hung in the air. My father came in from the garage carrying a box labeled kitchen in black marker. He looked older than he had that morning. Mark appeared behind him, shoulders slumped, jaw tight. He usually walked like he owned whatever room he entered. That night, he seemed smaller, like someone had taken air out of him. "What happened?" I asked. Mark opened his mouth. Vanessa answered before he could. He was betrayed. I looked at her. By who? His so-called friend at work, she snapped. The director. The guy he plays golf with. The guy whose kid Noah gave birthday presents to. Mark rubbed his forehead. "Vanessa," he said quietly. "No," she said, turning on him. "I'm not going to let them make you sound like some criminal." The room went still. That was the word that told me everything. Criminal. I shifted my bag higher on my shoulder. "What does that mean?" Vanessa's eyes flashed. "It means people are cruel when money is involved." I almost laughed. That was rich coming from her. Mark looked at the floor. I waited. Finally, my father set the box down and cleared his throat. "There was an issue at Mark's company," he said carefully. "What kind of issue?" Vanessa folded her arms. "It was a misunderstanding." I kept looking at Mark. He swallowed. "I borrowed from an account," he said. No one moved. "Borrowed," I repeated. "I was going to put it back." "How much?" "That's not your business," Vanessa cut in. "If you're moving into the house I help pay for, it kind of is." My mother flinched. "Emily," she said softly, warning me. Mark's face tightened. "It was temporary," he said. "We had some credit card stuff, rent, a few things got out of control. I thought I could cover it before anyone noticed." I stared at him. You took money from your company. Vanessa stepped forward. He was under pressure. That's called stealing. The silence after that was sharp enough to cut skin. My mother looked at me like I had slapped someone at a funeral. Emily, she whispered. Vanessa's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes filled with tears so quickly it almost impressed me. I cannot believe you, she said. My husband is humiliated. Our family is falling apart, and you're standing there judging him like you're perfect. I'm not perfect, I said, but I know the difference between being betrayed and being caught. Mark's jaw clenched. My father looked away. My mother pressed both hands together near her chest. Please, she said, not tonight. Everyone is exhausted. Vanessa gave a bitter little laugh. Of course. Emily gets to be cruel because she's logical. That's what everyone calls it, right? She has no heart, but at least she's logical. Noah ran into the room then, dragging a dinosaur by its tail. Grandma, where do I put my T-Rex? My mother's expression changed instantly. She wiped her eyes and bent down. Oh, honey, we'll find a place. That was how Vanessa won most arguments, not by being right, by making sure there was always someone more fragile in the room than she was. A child, a crying mother, a tired father, a disgraced husband. Anyone whose pain could be held up in front of her like a shield. That night, no one asked if I was okay with them staying. No one asked if the house had room. No one asked if the extra food, water, electricity, heat, laundry, internet, and chaos would change the amount I was expected to contribute. My mother simply announced it over reheated pasta at 9:30, after the boxes had been dragged inside and Noah had fallen asleep on the couch. Vanessa, Mark, and Noah are going to stay here for a little while, she said. A little while. Those were dangerous words in my family. A little while meant until everyone got used to it. A little help meant $900 a month. A little favor meant money you would never see again. Vanessa sat beside Mark, clutching his hand like they were survivors of a natural disaster, rather than two adults who had spent years living above their means. My father nodded slowly. We'll make it work, he said. I looked at him. Where are they sleeping? Your sister and Mark will take the guest room, my mother said. Noah can use the small room for now. For now. I should have paid attention to that, too. The first few days were chaos. The house, which had already felt too small, became a living organism with too many limbs. Shoes appeared in the hallway. Noah's toys migrated across the living room floor. Vanessa's skincare products colonized the upstairs bathroom. Mark took long showers in the morning and left wet towels wherever gravity accepted them. The grocery bill nearly doubled. So did the laundry. The TV was always on. Noah was not a bad kid. He was just 7, loud, restless, and confused. He missed his apartment. He missed his friends in the building. He missed having his own space. He asked questions no one answered clearly. Are we poor now? Is Dad in trouble? Why is Mom crying? Are we going home soon? Every time he asked, Vanessa would pull him close and say, We are home, baby. Grandma and Grandpa love us. Aunt Emily, too. Then she would look at me as if daring me to disagree. Mark found another job after 2 weeks, sales again, but for a smaller company, with a lower base salary and less commission. He mentioned that difference every day. I'm basically starting over, he said one morning, standing in front of the open refrigerator. My mother was making eggs. My father was reading the news on his tablet. I was filling a travel mug with coffee before work. Mark sighed loudly. At my old job, I would have been earning twice this by now. I said nothing. Vanessa, wrapped in a robe that probably cost more than my winter coat, touched his shoulder. You're doing amazing, she said. He gave a tired smile. My mother turned from the stove. You are, Mark. We're proud of you for getting back out there so fast. I watched them comfort him, like he had survived injustice. No one said, you stole from your employer. No one said, your choices put your wife and child in this house. No one said, maybe this is the time to cut expenses. Instead, we all tiptoed around Mark's wounded pride. By the end of the month, Vanessa had returned to her part-time shifts at the boutique. She described this as helping out, though she worked 3 afternoons a week and spent half her paycheck before it landed in her account. She said she needed to stay available for Noah. Noah gets out of school at 3, she told me one night when I suggested she look for full-time work. So does every child in America, I said. Parents still work. Her eyes narrowed. You wouldn't understand. Why? Because I don't have a child? Exactly. It became her favorite weapon. You don't have a child. You don't know what real responsibility is. You only have yourself to think about. She said this while I was paying $900 a month toward a household that now included her husband, and her son. At dinner, the imbalance became impossible to ignore. My mother cooked more than before. Pasta, chicken, rice, casseroles, cheaper meals stretched to feed more people. She was tired, but she tried. One Thursday, she made baked chicken with potatoes and green beans. It smelled good. It was warm. It was food someone had taken time to prepare after working all day. Vanessa took 2 bites and pushed her plate away. It's dry. My mother blinked. What? The chicken, Vanessa said. It's dry. Mark kept eating but said nothing. My father stared at his plate. Noah asked if he could have cereal. My mother's face reddened. I'm sorry, honey. I might have left it in too long. Vanessa sighed like a woman enduring hardship with grace. It's fine. I just miss normal food. Mark and I used to go to Bellini's on Thursdays. I set down my fork. Bellini's was the kind of Italian restaurant where appetizers cost $20, and waiters described olive oil like wine. You can still go, I said. Vanessa looked at me. With what money? I looked back. No one spoke. My mother quickly stood. I can make Noah cereal. I watched her apologize for not providing restaurant-quality meals to a grown woman who was not paying for groceries. Something hot pressed against my ribs, but I swallowed it. Again. That became my routine. Swallowing. Swallow the comments. Swallow the unfairness. Swallow the way my mother praised Vanessa for washing a single pan while my own help went unnoticed because it had become expected. Swallow the way Mark used the shower so long that there was no hot water left. Swallow the way Noah came into my room without knocking because no adult told him not to. Swallow the way my father kept saying, "It's just until they get back on their feet." As if feet were things Vanessa and Mark had any interest in using. The first time Vanessa asked me for money after moving in, she did it in my room. I was working on SafeNest at nearly midnight, testing whether the software could distinguish between a person walking up a driveway and a dog running across the grass. My eyes hurt. My shoulders were stiff. On the screen, 3 camera feeds looped over and over. My door opened. No knock. Vanessa slipped in and sat on the edge of my bed. I did not turn around. What do you need? She gave a small laugh. Wow, nice greeting. I'm busy. You're always busy. I kept typing. She sighed. Emily, I stopped. There it was again, the soft voice. I turned my chair. Vanessa was looking at my screen, but not with curiosity, with suspicion. What is all that? Work. It doesn't look like your regular work. It's a personal project. What kind of personal project? One that requires concentration. She rolled her eyes. Fine. God. Then she leaned back on her hands. I need to borrow $400. I stared at her. For what? Noah needs new school shoes. $400 for shoes? And we wanted to take him to the indoor amusement park this weekend. He's been so sad since we moved. He needs something fun. I rubbed my forehead. Vanessa, Mark just started working again. He hasn't gotten a full paycheck yet. You work too. I work part-time, Emily. I don't know why you keep pretending that's some huge income. Then maybe work full-time. Her face changed. Just like that, the soft voice disappeared. I have a child. Mom and Dad are here almost every afternoon. They could watch Noah for a couple of hours. That is not the point. What is the point? The point is that my son's life fell apart, and you're sitting here acting like I'm selfish for wanting to make him happy. I looked at her for a long second. Noah was a child. He had not caused any of this. He did deserve stability, fun, shoes that fit. But Vanessa had a talent for wrapping her wants in Noah's needs until no one could tell where one ended and the other began. I sent the money. I hated myself as soon as I did. Her phone chimed. She smiled. Thank you. I turned back to my computer. She did not leave. Instead, she looked around my room, at the stacks of books, the monitor, the old hoodie over my chair, the mug of cold coffee on my desk. You know, she said, for someone who makes decent money, you live like you're broke. I like saving. For what? I did not answer. She stood. Emily? I looked at her. Her smile was gone. What are you saving for? The question felt less like curiosity and more like a hand testing a locked door. Good night, Vanessa. For a moment, I thought she would push. Then she laughed softly. You're so weird. She left my door open behind her. The next week, she asked for more money at dinner. That was worse because she did it in front of everyone. We had just sat down. My mother had made chili, and Noah was complaining that beans were squishy. Mark was scrolling on his phone. My father was buttering a piece of bread. Vanessa took a sip of water and said casually, can you help me with a little money tomorrow? I froze. My mother's spoon paused halfway to her bowl. How much? I asked. Just 300. For what? She gave me a look. Does it matter? Yes. Her lips tightened. Noah has a school thing, and we're still catching up from the move. What school thing? Emily, my mother murmured. No, I said. If I'm being asked for money, I can ask what it's for. Vanessa leaned back in her chair. Never mind. Forget I asked. That was not surrender. That was performance. My mother immediately turned to me. Your sister is going through a very hard time. So am I. The table went quiet. Vanessa laughed once coldly. You? What hardship do you have, Emily? You go to work, come home, hide in your room, and stack your money somewhere like a little dragon. My father said, Vanessa. But weekly, so weekly, it did not count. I looked at Vanessa. Have you thought about asking for more hours at the boutique? Her face went red. I can't believe you just said that. I'm saying if you need money, more work might help. I need to be there for my son. Lots of parents work full-time. You don't get to lecture me about parenting. I'm not lecturing you. I'm telling you, I can't keep giving you money every time you want to avoid changing anything. My mother set down her spoon. Emily, that was unnecessary. I stared at her. Of course it was. Vanessa pushed back her chair so hard it scraped the floor. I'm done. She stormed away. Mark followed after a second, shooting me a look heavy with resentment, as if I had been the one who stole from his company and moved my family into someone else's house. Noah looked around, confused. Is Mom mad? My mother touched his hair. No, honey, grown-ups are just talking. But we were not talking. We had never really talked. We circled the truth like it was a hole in the floor no one wanted to admit was there. Vanessa did not speak to me for a week after that. It was the most peaceful week I had had in months. I came home, ate, cleaned what I used, and went to my room. I finished a major part of SafeNest's recognition model. I fixed the alert delay. I improved the dashboard. I tested the system with 3 cheap used cameras I had bought online and taped in different corners of my room like a paranoid raccoon. The software got better. The house got worse. Then I saw Vanessa's Instagram post. It was late Friday night. I was waiting for a test bill to compile when I opened my phone out of habit. There she was, Vanessa, smiling under soft restaurant lighting, wearing a deep green dress I had never seen before. Mark beside her with his arm around her waist. On the table, cocktails, oysters, a pasta dish with shaved truffle, and a dessert with a sparkler in it. Caption: After everything we've been through, we deserved one beautiful night. I stared at the photo. The dress looked expensive. The restaurant was not Bellini's, but it was the same kind of place. The kind of place where people said, we deserve this, because saying, we charge this to a card we can't pay, sounded less inspirational. My bank app still showed the $400 I had sent for Noah's shoes and emotional recovery. I zoomed in on the photo before I could stop myself. Vanessa's shoes were new too. For a moment, anger rose so fast I felt dizzy. Then came something worse: clarity. I was not helping. I was funding a lifestyle that had collapsed and was now using my guilt as scaffolding. I set my phone down and looked at the SafeNest test window on my laptop. The system flagged a human shape moving across one of the feeds. Alert! Person detected. I almost laughed. If only it could detect lies. A few nights later, I learned Mark's situation was worse than anyone had admitted. It was past 1 in the morning. I had been coding for hours, and my body had reached that strange stage of exhaustion where standing up felt like floating. I went downstairs for water. The kitchen was dark except for the microwave clock glowing green. As I filled a glass, I heard Mark's voice outside. The back door was slightly open. Rain tapped against the patio cover. I should have walked away. I didn't. Mark was on the back porch, speaking in a low, tense voice. I told you I'm working on it. A pause. No, you can't send anything here. Another pause. Because my wife doesn't know the full amount. My hand tightened around the glass. Mark lowered his voice even more. I said I'll pay it back. I just need time. If you file anything official, I'm screwed. My pulse started pounding in my ears. He listened, pacing. No, don't call her. I'm serious. Do not call Vanessa. Then he swore softly and ended the call. I stepped back from the sink before he came in. Too late. He opened the door and saw me standing there. For 2 seconds, neither of us spoke. His face went pale. Couldn't sleep? He asked. No. He glanced at the glass in my hand. Water? Obviously. The silence stretched. Then he said, You didn't hear anything. It was not a question. I looked at him. I heard enough. His eyes hardened. This is between me and the company. Does Vanessa know? That's none of your business. Does my mother know? He looked away. There it was. Number, or not all of it. I took my glass and walked past him. Emily, he said. I stopped. If you say anything, you'll only make things worse. I turned around. For who? He had no answer. The next morning, Mark acted normal. Vanessa complained that my mother had bought the wrong almond milk. My father searched for a missing screwdriver. Noah spilled cereal on the floor. The house continued. That was the terrifying thing about secrets. They did not always explode. Sometimes they moved into the house, ate breakfast, used your shower, and asked to borrow your charger. I threw myself into Safe Nest with a desperation that felt almost physical. At Bright Shield, I did my assigned work. I fixed bugs, joined meetings, wrote documentation, reviewed code. I smiled when coworkers asked about my weekend. I said, quiet, because I overheard my brother-in-law discussing possible legal action over money he stole, while my sister uses her child to manipulate me and my parents slowly forget I'm a person. Did not fit casual office conversation. At night, I built the thing that still belonged to me. Safe Nest became cleaner, smarter, faster. I taught it to ignore tree shadows at sunset, to lower sensitivity when headlights swept across glass, to flag a person who lingered near a door for more than a few seconds, to tell the difference between a dog running across a yard and a human crouching near a window. The irony was not lost on me. I was building a security system while living in a house where I no longer felt secure. One Saturday afternoon, Noah came into my room while Vanessa was in the shower. He did not knock, but with Noah, it was not malice. He had grown used to adults treating my space like public property. I was testing a camera feed. He climbed onto the edge of my bed and watched the screen. Is that a spy thing? He asked. No, I said. It helps people know if someone is outside their house. Like bad guys? Sometimes. Can it see money? I turned to him. What? He swung his legs. Can it see if someone has money hidden? A cold, slow feeling moved through me. Why would you ask that? He shrugged. Mom said you hide money. I kept my voice gentle. She said that? She said if you loved family, you would help more. She said maybe you have a lot and don't tell anyone. My mouth went dry. Noah looked at the screen again. Are we poor? I closed my laptop halfway. Noah, I said carefully, grown-up money problems are not your fault. Mom cries a lot. I know. She said Dad got treated bad. I looked at his small face, his worried eyes, his hands gripping the edge of my blanket. My anger at Vanessa sharpened into something colder. She was not just manipulating my parents. She was feeding her fear and resentment to her child. Noah, I said, you are safe here. Grandma and Grandpa love you. Your mom and dad love you. But You don't have to worry about who has money, okay? He nodded, though I could tell he did not understand. How could he? He was 7. He should have been thinking about dinosaurs, not debt. That night, I added another password to the folder where I stored SafeNest's source code. The next morning, I found the folder locked from too many failed attempts. I sat at my desk, staring at the warning, unauthorized access attempt. My heartbeat slowed in a way that frightened me. I checked the logs. Someone had tried to open the protected folder while I was in the shower. Maybe Noah had clicked around. Maybe Vanessa had come in again. Maybe Mark, desperate and cornered, had decided my personal project might be worth something. I had no proof. That was the worst part. Suspicion without proof makes you feel crazy. It turns every sound into evidence, every closed door into a conspiracy, every smile into a mask. I backed up everything to encrypted cloud storage, then to an external drive I took to the office, then to a second account no one knew existed. I changed every password again. I stopped leaving my laptop unattended. When I showered, it came with me into the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and hidden in the cabinet under the sink like a secret weapon. That was when I finally admitted the truth to myself. I was not living at home anymore. I was surviving there, and survival had rules. Rule 1, do not tell them anything they can use. Rule 2, do not leave anything valuable where they can reach it. Rule 3, finish SafeNest. Because SafeNest was no longer just a project, it was my exit. By then, the house had settled into a new rhythm, and I hated how normal it looked from the outside. In the mornings, my father left for work before sunrise. My mother packed lunches and reminded Noah to brush his teeth. Vanessa complained about being tired. Mark drank coffee in silence. I left for Bright Shield with my laptop bag pressed against my side like armor. Neighbors probably saw us and thought we were a close family, helping each other through hard times. Maybe that was what my mother told herself, too. A daughter helping her parents, a sister helping her sister, a family making sacrifices. But sacrifices are supposed to be shared. In our house, sacrifice had my name on it. Vanessa still bought small luxuries and called them survival. Mark still complained about the job he was lucky to have. My parents still treated my monthly contribution like oxygen, and I kept coding in the dark, building a system designed to recognize threats while trying to ignore the fact that mine slept down the hall. The final piece of SafeNest clicked into place on a Sunday night. It was almost 2 in the morning. The house was finally quiet. Noah asleep, Vanessa's door closed, my parents in bed, Mark somewhere downstairs, maybe watching TV with the volume low. On my screen, 4 test feeds ran at once. A person approached a porch. Alert. A dog crossed a driveway. No alert. A branch moved in heavy wind. No alert. A figure stood too long near a back gate. Alert. The dashboard updated smoothly. The notifications fired instantly. The false positives dropped lower than I had hoped. I stared at the screen. For the first time in months, I felt something like joy. Quiet, cautious joy. I had made this. Not Vanessa. Not Mark. Not my parents. Me. In stolen hours. In a house that thought I was wasting electricity. In a room people entered without knocking. With money I did not spend because everyone else always needed something. I had built something that worked. I covered my mouth with one hand and laughed softly, because if I made too much noise, someone would come ask what was wrong. Then I opened a blank email to Daniel Brooks. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I typed, "Hi, Daniel. I've been working on a personal security application outside of company hours, and I think it may be relevant to Bright Shield's residential product line. Would you be open to taking a look this week?" I read it 3 times. Then I hit send before fear could stop me. The email disappeared. The house remained silent. But something had shifted. For the first time, I had done something no one in that house knew about. Approved of, controlled, borrowed from, criticized, or claimed. I had opened a door. Now, I just had to get through it before they found the key. Daniel Brooks replied to my email at 7:18 the next morning. I knew because I was already awake. I had slept maybe 3 hours, if closing my eyes while my brain ran through every possible disaster counted as sleep. By 6, I was dressed for work, sitting on the edge of my bed with my laptop bag beside me and my phone in my hand. The house was still dark. Down the hall, Noah coughed in his sleep. Somewhere below, the heater clicked on with an old metallic groan. When my phone buzzed, my heart jumped so hard I almost dropped it. Daniel's message was short. Bring it by at 10. Conference room B. I'll block off an hour. An hour. That was all he said. No excitement, no promise, no indication that my entire life might change before lunch. I read the email 3 times anyway. Then I locked my phone, put it in my coat pocket, and sat very still. The house around me felt different that morning. Not quieter, not safer, just temporary. Like a cheap motel room, you know you are leaving soon, even if your suitcase is not packed yet. I looked around my bedroom. My desk was crowded with cables, notebooks, an external hard drive, 3 cheap test cameras, and an empty coffee mug with a brown ring at the bottom. The curtains were half open, gray winter light pressed against the window. My whiteboard still had rough diagrams for SafeNest's alert system written in blue marker. Person detected, pet ignored, shadow suppressed, repeat motion filtered, suspicious linger flagged. I had spent months building a system that knew what deserved attention and what did not. I wished I had built one for my life sooner. Downstairs, the morning chaos began. Cabinet doors opened and shut. My mother called for Noah's backpack. Vanessa snapped at Mark because he had used the last of the coffee creamer. My father coughed by the front door as he pulled on his work boots. Someone dropped a spoon. Noah whined that his cereal was soggy. Normal sounds, family sounds. But I heard them now like a warning. When I came downstairs, Vanessa was standing by the kitchen island in a cream sweater, scrolling through her phone with one hand and holding a mug with the other. She glanced at my laptop bag. You're leaving early. I have a meeting. At work? I opened the refrigerator and took out the lunch I had packed the night before. No, Vanessa, at the moon base. She gave me a thin smile. Cute. My mother turned from the stove. What kind of meeting, honey? Just a product meeting. Vanessa looked up again. You've had a lot of those lately. I paused. What does that mean? Nothing. She shrugged. You just seem secretive. The word landed exactly where she wanted it to. My mother's eyes flicked toward me, then away. Mark sat at the table with his tie loose around his neck, staring into his coffee. He had been quieter since the night I overheard him on the phone. Not kinder, just careful. My father came in from the hallway and kissed my mother on the cheek. Morning, Em. Morning. He looked tired, as always. For a second, guilt tugged at me. My father had not asked to be old before 60. My mother had not asked for bills that kept rising. Maybe I was cruel for wanting out. Then Vanessa said, if your meeting is about a raise, remember some of us could use good news too. And the guilt burned away. I picked up my bag. I'll be late tonight. Vanessa's eyes narrowed slightly. Doing what? Working. That's always your answer. It's usually true. I left before she could say anything else. The drive to Bright Shield felt unreal. Chicago was wet and silver under a low sky. Traffic crawled along the expressway, brake lights reflecting in the slick road. My hands gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary. Every few minutes, my mind invented a new reason Daniel might hate the project. Maybe SafeNest looked amateurish. Maybe I had missed something obvious. Maybe because I had built it while employed at Bright Shield, the company would claim ownership and give me nothing. Maybe Daniel would smile politely, thank me, and never mention it again. Or maybe Vanessa was right, and I had spent all those nights hiding in my room, building something no one wanted. By the time I reached the office, my stomach hurt. Bright Shield Technologies occupied 3 floors of a glass building near the river. It was not one of those flashy tech companies with slides and nap pods and kombucha taps. It had gray carpet, decent coffee, conference rooms named after Chicago neighborhoods, and engineers who look like they had all chosen comfort over fashion at some point in their 20s and never looked back. I liked it there. At Bright Shield, people knocked before entering a room. That alone made it feel luxurious. At 9:58, I stood outside conference room B with my laptop under one arm and my mouth dry. Daniel arrived with a notebook, a coffee, and his usual calm expression. "Morning," he said. "Morning. You nervous?" "No." He looked at me. "Yes." He smiled slightly and opened the door. Conference room B was small, with a long table, a wall-mounted screen, and a window overlooking the parking garage. I connected my laptop with hands that were not as steady as I wanted them to be. Daniel sat across from me, pen ready. "No pressure," he said. "Just show me what you built." "No pressure." "Right." I took a breath. "This is SafeNest," I began. My voice sounded too formal at first, like I was giving a class presentation. But once the demo opened, once the dashboard appeared on the screen, something inside me settled. Code I understood. Systems I understood. People were harder. SafeNest is designed for ordinary home security cameras, I said. Not just proprietary equipment. The idea is to make smarter alerts available to people who already have basic camera setups, but are tired of false notifications. Daniel leaned back. I showed him the live test environment. 4 feeds appeared on the screen. This one is a porch feed. This one is a driveway. This one is a backyard tree line. This one is a garage entry. I ran the first clip. A dog trotted across the driveway. "No alert," I said. "It identifies the movement, but classifies it as non-human and low risk." The next clip showed a person walking toward the porch. A notification appeared. "Person detected near front entry." Daniel leaned forward. I clicked into the alert. The system tracks time and frame, movement path, and proximity to defined access points. If someone passes by quickly on a sidewalk, it can suppress the alert, but if they approach a door or linger near a window, it flags the motion. I showed him headlights sweeping across glass. "No alert," a tree thrashing in wind. "No alert," a shadow moving along a fence. Suppressed. Then a figure crouching near a back gate. Alert. Daniel's pen stopped moving. I kept going. I showed him the scheduling tools. Quiet hours, custom zones, easy labels. A user interface simple enough for someone like my mother, who thought browser updates were personal attacks. I showed him the mobile alert mockups. I showed him the false positive data I had collected from my tests. I showed him the model's limitations before he could ask, because I wanted him to know I was not delusional. SafeNest was not perfect. It needed more testing, cleaner integration, and proper security review, but it worked. When I finished, the room was silent. Daniel stared at the screen. I could hear the faint hum of the projector. Then he said, "You built all of this by yourself?" "Yes." "Outside work hours?" "Yes." "Using company code?" "No." I opened the documentation folder. I kept it separate. Personal machine, personal repositories, personal hardware, no Bright Shield assets. His eyebrows lifted. "You documented that?" "Yes." "Good." He stood and walked closer to the screen. "Run the back gate clip again." I did. He watched carefully. Again. I ran it again. He crossed his arms. "Emily, this isn't a personal project." My stomach dropped. "I mean, technically it is." "No," he said, turning to me. "I mean, this is a product." I stopped breathing. Daniel looked back at the dashboard. "Our residential clients have been asking for exactly this kind of smarter alert filtering. The big players do it, but they lock users into expensive hardware. If this can run reliably with common cameras..." He shook his head slightly. "There's serious commercial potential here." I did not know what to say. For months, my mother had called it wasted electricity. My father had called it playing on the computer. Vanessa had called it hiding. Daniel called it a product. Something in my chest cracked open. Carefully, quietly. He sat again. "I need to bring in legal and product strategy," he said. "Maybe security too. There are ownership questions, licensing questions. I want to be careful." Of course. Careful was fine. Careful was good. "Okay," I said, though my voice barely came out. Daniel studied me. You understand what I'm saying, right? I think so. I'm saying this could be valuable. Valuable! The word followed me for the rest of the day. Through stand-up, through code review, through lunch, which I did not eat, through 3 messages from my mother asking what time I would be home, through 1 message from Vanessa that simply said, "Are you ignoring Mom?" I did not answer. By the end of the week, Daniel had scheduled a second meeting. This one had 6 people. Daniel, 2 product leads, someone from legal, 1 senior engineer from security, and a woman named Marissa from business development, who spoke very quickly and wore red glasses. I gave the demo again, then again, 3 days later, then to a larger group. Each time I expected the excitement to disappear. Instead, it sharpened. Questions became more specific. What camera brands had I tested? What processing load did it need? How much data stayed local? Could it integrate with existing BrightShield accounts? How hard would it be to support subscription tiers? Had I filed any provisional patent paperwork? Could the alert filtering model scale? I answered what I could. When I could not, I said so. No one seemed offended by that. At home, the pressure thickened. Vanessa noticed everything. If I came home late, she asked where I had been. If I took a call outside, she appeared near a window. If I smiled at my phone, she wanted to know who texted. One evening, I found her in the hallway outside my room, pretending to look for Noah's missing dinosaur. "It's weird," she said. "What is?" "You." I adjusted my laptop bag on my shoulder. "Thank you for clarifying." She blocked the doorway with her body. "You've been different." "I'm tired." "No, you're excited." I looked at her. "Am I not allowed to be?" "That depends on what you're excited about." I stepped closer. "Move, Vanessa." For a second, I thought she would refuse. Then she smiled and stepped aside. "Secrets always come out, Em." That night, I slept with my laptop under my bed. 3 weeks after my first meeting with Daniel, BrightShield made the offer. I sat in a conference room with Daniel, Marissa, and a lawyer named Kevin who had the calm voice of someone trained to make life-changing numbers sound like weather reports. There had been a technical review, a legal review, an intellectual property review, a terrifying conversation about whether any part of SafeNest might be considered related to my work at BrightShield. My documentation saved me. I had built it outside office hours on my own equipment without using company code or confidential data. BrightShield could not claim it automatically, but they wanted it. Specifically, they wanted to purchase the rights to develop, integrate, and commercialize SafeNest under the BrightShield residential product line. Kevin slid a document across the table. "The proposed acquisition payment is $500,000, he said. "In addition, you would receive a royalty percentage tied to revenue from the SafeNest-derived product line for a defined period." For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. $500,000. The number did not fit inside my head. I stared at the document, waiting for someone to laugh, correct themselves, or explain the catch. Daniel's expression was serious. Marissa was smiling like she knew exactly what kind of bomb had just been placed on the table. Kevin continued talking. Tax considerations? Payment schedule? Rights? Deliverables? Support period? Ongoing employment separate from the agreement. His words blurred. $500,000. That was not dress money, not grocery money, not help your sister for the weekend money. That was door-opening money, lock-changing money, never sleep on the couch money. I forced myself to breathe. "I'd like an independent attorney to review it," I said. Kevin nodded immediately. "Absolutely. We recommend that." Daniel's mouth twitched like he was proud of me. I did not tell my family. Not when I hired an attorney. Not when we revised the contract. Not when I signed the final agreement. Not when Daniel shook my hand and said, "You earned this. You earned this." I held on to those words all the way home that night, through freezing rain and traffic, through a missed call from my mother and 2 texts from Vanessa. When the first payment hit my account, I was sitting alone in my car in the BrightShield parking garage. It was a Friday afternoon. The notification came from my bank. Deposit received. I opened the app. There it was. More money than I had ever seen attached to my name. For a long time, I just stared. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not take a screenshot. I did not call my parents. I did not call Vanessa, especially not Vanessa. I locked the screen and pressed the phone against my chest. My hands were shaking. I thought I would feel joy first. Instead, I felt fear, because money like that did not only change what I could do, it changed what people might try to do to me if they found out. That night, I did not go straight home. I drove to a branch of my bank and opened a new account with stricter security. I updated passwords. I added account alerts. I froze an old credit card I barely used. I moved documents to a safe deposit box. I called the attorney who had reviewed the contract and asked for a referral to a tax advisor. Then I sat in my car and searched for apartments for sale near Bright Shield. Not rentals, for sale. I was done paying to be temporary. When I finally walked into my parents' house, everyone was in the living room. The TV was off. That alone made my stomach tighten. My mother sat on the couch with a tissue in one hand. My father sat beside her, elbows on knees. Vanessa occupied the armchair like it was a witness stand. Mark stood near the fireplace with his arms crossed. Noah was on the floor with toy cars, making engine noises under his breath. Vanessa looked at me first. "You're late." "I had errands." "What errands?" "Personal ones." Her eyes sharpened. My father cleared his throat. "Emily, we need to talk." Of course we did. I set my bag down near my feet but did not take off my coat. My mother patted the couch beside her. "Sit down, honey." I remained standing. "What's going on?" My father glanced at Vanessa. That told me everything. He had not called this meeting. She had. "The household expenses have gone up," he began. I almost laughed. Of all the nights. Of all the timing. "Okay," I said. "With 5 adults and a child in the house, things are different." 5 adults, I repeated. "How many of those adults are paying?" Vanessa's face tightened. My mother jumped in. "That's not fair. It's a simple question. Your sister and Mark are trying," my mother said. Mark looked away. Vanessa leaned forward. "Trying? We are recovering from a crisis." "A crisis Mark created." "Emily," my father said sharply. I looked at him. He looked surprised by his own tone, then embarrassed. Mark placed a sheet of paper on the coffee table. "We wrote out the expenses," he said. I picked it up. Mortgage contribution, utilities, groceries, gas, household supplies, Noah's school costs, credit card minimums, car payment, clothing, personal items, restaurant balance. Restaurant balance. I looked at Vanessa. "You put restaurant debt on a household expense list?" Her chin lifted. It was from before. "That doesn't make it a household expense." "It affects the household." "No, it affects you." My mother's eyes filled again. "Please don't make this ugly." I lowered the paper. It was ugly before I said anything. My father rubbed both hands over his face. "We were thinking," he said slowly, "that since you're in the most stable position right now, maybe you could increase what you contribute." I already knew the number before he said it. Maybe because Vanessa's mouth had curved slightly. Maybe because my body had learned to recognize the exact shape of an ambush. "To how much?" I asked. My father swallowed. $1,800 a month. The room seemed to tilt. $1,800. Double. While Vanessa worked part-time. While Mark hid debts. While my laptop slept under my bed because I did not trust them. While my mother could not look me in the eye. Vanessa spoke gently. "It's not forever." Nothing was ever forever when they asked. Only when I paid. I looked at my mother. "And you think this is fair?" Her lips trembled. "I think families help each other." "Do families also move into a house and hand their debts to the youngest adult in the room?" Vanessa stood. "Oh my God. You always have to make yourself the victim." I turned to her. "No, Vanessa. I've actually been avoiding that for a long time." She laughed. "You live here almost for free." I stared at her. "I pay $900 a month, which is nothing compared to rent." I was asked to stay because Mom and Dad needed help, and I helped. "Then keep helping." There it was, the truth, stripped of tears and family language. Keep helping, keep paying, keep swallowing, keep being useful. I folded the expense sheet and placed it back on the table. "Fine," I said. My mother blinked. What? I'll pay 1800. Relief moved through the room like air returning after suffocation. My mother covered her mouth. Thank you, sweetheart. My father closed his eyes briefly. Mark exhaled. Vanessa sat back down, satisfied. They thought they had won. They did not understand that the only reason I had said yes was because I was already gone. Not physically. Not yet. But inside, something had packed its bags. The next morning, from the parking lot outside Bright Shield, I called Rachel Miller. Rachel was a real estate agent. A coworker had used the year before. I had met her once at an office holiday event. She had sharp eyes, warm manners, and the kind of practical confidence that made problems seem like paperwork instead of destiny. Rachel? I said when she answered. This is Emily Carter. We met through Priya from Bright Shield. Emily, hi, of course. How can I help? I gripped the steering wheel. I want to buy a condo. There was a tiny pause. Great. Are you thinking investment or primary residence? Primary. Small, 1 bedroom is fine. Close to my office if possible. Safe building. Move-in ready. I don't want a fixer-upper. Do you have financing lined up? I'll be paying cash. Another pause. This one was different. I see, Rachel said. That gives you options. I don't want anything flashy. Understood. And I don't want my family involved. Rachel's voice softened, but did not become nosy. Then don't involve them until you close. I closed my eyes for half a second. That obvious? I've worked with enough buyers to know that family pressure can make a simple transaction very messy. You have no idea. I might have some idea, she said. Send me your budget range and office location. I'll pull listings today. By lunch, she had sent 5. By the next afternoon, we saw 2. The first condo smelled like cigarettes covered by vanilla candles. The second faced a brick wall so closely I could have touched it if the window opened. The third one was different. It was in a mid-rise building about 15 minutes from Bright Shield without traffic, 25 with it. The lobby was small but clean. There was a front desk attendant, security cameras, package lockers, and elevators that did not smell like old soup. The unit was on the 7th floor. When Rachel opened the door, winter light spilled across pale hardwood floors. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, open kitchen, small living area, a narrow balcony overlooking another building, and beyond that, a slice of the city. The appliances were not luxury, but they were clean. The walls were plain. The bedroom had enough space for my bed and a dresser. The living room had a corner by the window that looked made for a desk. I walked straight to it. There, I could put my monitor, my laptop, my notebooks. No one would touch them. No one would ask why the light was on. No one would open the door without knocking, because there would be no one on the other side of the door unless I invited them. Rachel stood quietly near the kitchen, letting me think. It's not huge, she said after a while. It's enough. The building's reserves are healthy. HOA is reasonable for the area. Seller already moved out. They'd like a quick close. How quick? With cash, if inspection is clean and title is fine, possibly 3 weeks, maybe less. 3 weeks. I looked at the empty corner again. I could survive 3 weeks. I want it, I said. Rachel nodded, like she had expected that. Then let's make an offer. On the drive home, I felt light for the first time in years. Not happy exactly. Happiness still felt too risky, but close. Then I saw Mark's pickup in my rearview mirror. At first, I thought I was imagining it. There were thousands of black pickups in Chicago. More than thousands. Maybe it was not his. Maybe I was paranoid. I changed lanes. The pickup changed lanes too. My hands tightened on the wheel. I turned off the main road earlier than usual, taking a longer route through a neighborhood of brick houses and bare trees. The pickup followed. My mouth went dry. At the next intersection, I slowed. So did the truck. Then, suddenly, it turned right. I kept driving straight. By the time I reached my parents' house, my heart was hammering. Mark was already in the kitchen when I walked in. He was drinking water, too casually. Vanessa sat at the table with her phone. My mother was stirring soup at the stove. Mark looked at me. Long day? I stared at him. Were you near West Loop this afternoon? His expression flickered. Maybe. I had a sales call. In the same neighborhood I was in? Vanessa looked up. Why were you in West Loop? I ignored her. Mark shrugged. Chicago's a big city, Emily, but people do drive on the same streets. Sure. Vanessa's eyes moved between us. What is going on? Nothing, Mark said. But he did not look at me again. That night, I emailed Rachel from my locked bedroom and told her we needed to move as quickly as possible. She replied within 10 minutes. Then, let's move quickly. The offer was accepted 2 days later. Inspection passed. Title work began. My attorney reviewed everything. I signed documents during lunch breaks and took calls from my car. I kept receipts in a folder at work. I stored every email in an account my family did not know existed. At home, the atmosphere turned strange, not openly hostile. That would have been easier. It became watchful. My mother asked why I was working so late. My father asked whether everything was okay at the office. Vanessa asked whether Brightshield gave bonuses. Mark said almost nothing. Once, I came downstairs at midnight and found him standing by the front window, looking out at the street. He turned when he heard me. Couldn't sleep? He asked. You ask that a lot. You're up a lot. So are you. He smiled without humor. Then his gaze dropped to the laptop under my arm. You really don't let that thing out of your sight anymore. No. Important project? Yes. Worth something? I held his gaze. To me. He nodded slowly. Things that matter to one person can matter to a whole family. A chill went through me. Good night, Mark. I went back upstairs and locked the door. The final closing date arrived sooner than expected. Rachel called me on a Monday afternoon. Everything is clear, she said. You signed Thursday? Keys likely the same day or Friday. Thursday. 3 days. I sat in my car outside Brightshield with the phone pressed to my ear and stared at the steering wheel. 3 days. After years of being useful, 3 days stood between me and a locked door that belonged to me. Emily, Rachel said. I'm here. You okay? Yes, but I was not okay. I was terrified. Because the closer freedom came, the more dangerous the house felt. That evening, dinner was quiet. Too quiet. My mother oversalted the stew. My father barely spoke. Vanessa watched me with a strange calmness. Mark avoided my eyes. Noah hummed to himself while pushing carrots around his plate. No one asked about my day. No one mentioned money. No one fought. It felt like the moment before a storm when even birds go silent. After dinner, I went upstairs and checked my email. Closing instructions. Final amount. Appointment time. Address. Keys. I read the message once. Then again. Then I deleted it from the visible inbox and saved a copy in a secure folder. My phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Even though she was just downstairs, we need to talk soon. I did not answer. A minute later, another message. Family shouldn't keep secrets. I stared at the words until the screen dimmed. Then, from downstairs, I heard my mother's voice. Low. Worried, Vanessa answered. I could not make out the words, but I heard my name. Then Mark's voice, then silence. I closed my laptop carefully. For a moment, I stood in the middle of my room and looked around. My bed, my desk, my books, my old stuffed bear on the shelf, the whiteboard with the last traces of safe nest diagrams. Everything I owned could fit into a few boxes. That should have made leaving easier. Instead, it made me realize how little space I had allowed myself to take up in my own life. I thought I had 3 days. I thought I could make it to Thursday quietly. I thought I could leave before anyone understood what I had done. But families like mine had a sense for escape. They could smell money before they saw it. They could feel boundaries forming before you spoke them. And when people are used to living off your silence, the first hint of your freedom sounds to them like betrayal. That night, I slept badly. The next morning, my mother smiled too much. Vanessa stayed home from work. Mark's pickup was still in the driveway when I left, though he claimed he had an early client meeting. As I drove to Brightshield, my phone buzzed with another bank security notice. Verification code requested. I pulled into a gas station and changed my password from the front seat. My hands were shaking. This was not random. Someone was trying doors. Digital ones, emotional ones, financial ones. I did not know which would open first. All I knew was that I had to get out before they stopped knocking and started breaking locks. By Wednesday evening, the house was waiting for me. I felt it before I even stepped through the door. The air was too still. The living room light was on. The television was off. And from the hallway, I could see the edge of a cardboard box. My cardboard box. One of the ones from my room. For a few seconds, I stood at the entrance with my keys in my hand and rainwater dripping from my coat onto the floor. Then I heard Noah laughing from the back of the house. A cartoon theme song blasted from behind my bedroom door. My bedroom door. Open! And Vanessa's voice floated down the hallway, smooth and satisfied. "Oh, good," she said. "You're home." "Oh, good," Vanessa said. "You're home." Her voice came from the hallway, smooth and satisfied, the way it did when she already knew she had won something. For a few seconds, I did not move. The front door was still open behind me. Rain hissed on the porch. Cold air slipped around my ankles and spread across the entryway floor. My keys were in my hand, my laptop bag pressed against my shoulder, my coat dripping water onto the mat. From where I stood, I could see the edge of a cardboard box halfway down the hall. My cardboard box. It was the one I kept at the bottom of my closet, the one filled with old notebooks from college, spare chargers, camera parts, and a few things I had never bothered to unpack after graduation, because some part of me had always known I would leave. Now it sat in the hallway, open. A coil of black cable hung over one side like something gutted. My heartbeat slowed. That frightened me more than if it had sped up. A cartoon theme song blasted from my bedroom. Noah laughed. Something electronic beeped and exploded through the speakers. I stepped inside and closed the front door behind me. The click of the latch sounded final. "Vanessa," I called, my voice strangely calm. "What did you do?" She appeared at the end of the hallway with her arms crossed over her chest. She had changed clothes since dinner. Soft pink sweater, black leggings, hair down around her shoulders, lips glossy. She looked fresh, composed, almost pretty, like she had prepared for this. Behind her, my mother hovered near the kitchen entrance, face pale. My father stood farther back, one hand on the wall, eyes fixed somewhere near my shoes. Mark was half visible in the living room, pretending to adjust one of Noah's toy bins. No one looked surprised to see me. That meant they had rehearsed this, not with words maybe, but with silence, with agreement, with that cowardly family choreography where everyone knows what has happened and no one wants to be the first to call it wrong. I walked toward the box. Then I saw the rest. My books were stacked against the wall, some inside boxes, some piled loose on the carpet. A programming manual lay bent open, its pages crushed under a plastic bin of Noah's action figures. My notebooks had been shoved into a reusable grocery bag. One had fallen open to a page of safe nest diagrams. The ink smudged where someone's wet hand had touched it. My clothes were in trash bags. Clean trash bags, yes. As if that mattered. Shirts, jeans, sweaters, socks, all forced together. One sleeve of my gray hoodie stuck out near the bottom, damp from where the bag had touched the wet floor. My desk lamp was there too, lying sideways. A framed certificate from Bright Shield had been wrapped in a towel and placed on top of a box marked MISC. My old stuffed bear, the one my father had bought me after I had my tonsils removed at 8 years old, was wedged between two bags like an afterthought. And my laptop, my breath caught. My personal laptop sat open on a dining chair. The screen glowed in the dim hallway. Too many incorrect password attempts. Try again later. Not locked, not asleep. Open, touched, tried. My hand tightened around my keys until one bit into my palm. I turned slowly. Who opened my laptop? No one answered. The cartoon in my room kept playing. I looked at Vanessa. Her mouth twisted. Don't be dramatic. Noah probably touched it. Noah doesn't know my password. He's 7. He presses buttons. Too many incorrect password attempts means someone tried more than pressing buttons. My mother stepped forward. Emily, honey, we were just moving things. Maybe the screen woke up. I looked at her. Do not lie to me. Her face crumpled as if I had slapped her. My father finally spoke. That tone isn't necessary. I laughed once. It came out flat. My things are in the hallway. My laptop has been tampered with. My bank envelope is open. I stopped because I had just seen it. A white envelope lay on top of one of the boxes. It had been sealed when I left that morning. It was not sealed now. My bank's logo was printed in the corner. Inside had been an old account notice. Nothing important, nothing current, but that was not the point. The point was that someone had opened it. I picked it up and held it in the air. Who opened this? Vanessa rolled her eyes. Oh my God, Emily. Who opened it? You act like you're in a crime show, Mark muttered from the living room. Maybe because you keep making everything look like one. Vanessa whipped around. Excuse me? He went silent immediately. Of course he did. My mother pressed both hands together. We did not mean for anything to be ruined. Ruined? I repeated. You think this is about ruined? I walked past them before anyone could stop me. My bedroom door was wide open. Noah sat on my bed. My bed. Except it did not look like mine anymore. The faded gray blanket I had used for years was gone. In its place were bright blue superhero sheets, a red comforter, pillows shaped like comic book explosions. Plastic dinosaurs lined the windowsill where my small plants used to sit. My whiteboard had been taken down. The wall where I had taped flowcharts, debugging notes, and reminders was covered with posters. A little desk had been placed where my bookshelf used to be. It held crayons, school folders, a plastic cup full of markers, and a half-finished worksheet. My monitor was gone. My secondhand office chair was gone. My desk, the desk where I had built SafeNest, the desk that had held months of exhaustion, hope, fear, and code, was gone. Noah looked up, controller in hand. Aunt Emily, look, I got the big room now. His smile was so bright it almost broke me. Not because I was angry at him, because I wasn't. He had no idea. He did not know that he was sitting in the middle of a decision adults had made to erase me from my own space. He bounced once on the mattress. Mom said I need room for homework and games, and my dinosaurs. I swallowed. My throat hurt. It's a lot of space, I said. He nodded proudly. Grandma said you don't use it much anyway. I looked over my shoulder. My mother stood in the hallway, eyes wet. Vanessa stood beside her, chin lifted. I stepped back out of the room and closed the door halfway, not all the way. Noah did not need to hear what came next. Where is my desk? I asked. My father answered quietly. In the garage. The garage. It was too big to keep in here. In my room. Vanessa gave a sharp sigh. It's not your room anymore, Emily. That's the point. There it was. No softening. No apology. No temporary. No, we should have asked. The point. For a moment, the house seemed to narrow around me. The hallway, the boxes, my family, their faces, my laptop screen glowing behind me like a warning light. I looked at my mother. You knew. She started crying. That was answer enough. Emily, honey, she said. Noah has been so upset since they moved in. He misses his old room. He doesn't sleep well. Vanessa and Mark have been under so much stress, and you're barely home. You're always working or on that computer, and we thought— You thought I wouldn't matter. No, she said quickly. No, that's not what I said. But it's what you did. My father's face hardened. Your mother is trying to explain. No, Dad. Mom is trying to make this sound less ugly than it is. Vanessa stepped forward. Okay, enough. Nobody kicked you out. We moved things around because the house is crowded. You move my things without asking, because if we asked, you would have made a scene. I glanced at the boxes. And this isn't a scene? You are making it one? I turned to her fully. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight? My mother wiped her cheeks with the back of her hand. Just for a few nights, sweetheart. You can sleep on the couch until we figure something out. The couch. It's comfortable, she whispered, and I almost felt sorry for her because even she could hear how pathetic that sounded. I looked at Vanessa. And the small room? Vanessa's expression settled into something smug. I'm using it. For what? My clothes. I stared at her. Your clothes. Mark and I don't have enough closet space. And with Noah's school things, everything is everywhere. I need somewhere to organize. You need a dressing room. I need space too. I laughed then, not because anything was funny, because there was no other sound left in me. I pay $1,800 a month to this house. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Here we go. I pay $1,800 a month, I repeated. I work full time. I buy groceries. I help with utilities. I clean. I fix things. I lend you money you never pay back. And somehow, Noah gets my bedroom, you get a dressing room, and I get the couch. My father said, It's not about money. I looked at him. Then stop taking mine. Silence. There it was. The one sentence no one in that house could survive. My mother covered her mouth. Vanessa's eyes flashed. That is cruel. No, I said. Cruel is touching someone's laptop. Cruel is opening their mail. Cruel is moving their belongings into a hallway while they're at work. Cruel is telling your daughter, who pays to live here, that she no longer deserves a bed. You always twist things, Vanessa snapped. Do I? Yes. You make everything about you. I gestured to the hallway. My things are literally in the hallway, Vanessa. Noah needed the room more, and you needed the small room more than I needed any room at all. She folded her arms. You're single. You don't have a child. You don't understand what families need. I stepped closer. I am family. For the first time, Vanessa had no immediate answer. The words hung between us. I am family. A simple sentence. A ridiculous thing to have to remind your own sister. My mother cried harder. My father looked away. Mark stood frozen in the living room. Vanessa recovered quickly. Don't be so dramatic. You act like you have somewhere else to go. That sentence did it. Not the boxes. Not the laptop. Not the envelope. Not even the couch. That sentence. Because I heard what she really meant. You're trapped. You need this house. You need us. So we can do what we want. I felt something inside me close, not break. Close, like a door finally locking from the inside. I do, I said. Vanessa blinked. What? I have somewhere else to go. She laughed. It was small and sharp. Where? A hotel? No. Your imaginary apartment? I looked straight into her eyes. My condo. The hallway went completely still. Even Noah's cartoons seemed quieter through the door. Vanessa's smile faltered. What condo? The one I bought. My mother lowered her hands from her face. You bought a condo? Yes. My father finally looked at me directly. With what money? I took a slow breath. My money. Vanessa stepped closer. That's impossible. Apparently not. You're lying. I'm not. When? Recently. How recently? That's none of your business. She let out a disbelieving laugh. Oh, it is absolutely our business. No, Vanessa, it isn't. My mother's voice shook. Emily, why wouldn't you tell us something like that? I looked at her. Because you opened my mail. Because you let my sister take my room. Because the first thing you asked was, with what money? Not, are you happy? Because I knew exactly what all of you would do. But I did not say all of that yet. I only said, because I knew this would happen. This? My father asked. I pointed to the hallway. This. Vanessa's face had changed completely. The smugness was gone, replaced by calculation. It moved behind her eyes so clearly I almost laughed again. A condo, she said slowly. Yes. Where? Not your concern. How much did it cost? Not your concern. When do you move? Tomorrow. My mother gasped. Tomorrow? I pulled out my phone. Yes. Vanessa frowned. What are you doing? Calling movers. You are not calling movers. I looked at her. Watch me. My hands were steady as I searched for the number Rachel had given me for a small moving company. My heart was not racing anymore. That was how I knew I was truly done. A man answered on the third ring. I explained quickly. Small move, mostly boxes, one bed, one desk if it could be retrieved from the garage, a chair, books, clothes. Pick up from a house in the suburbs. Delivery to a condo in the city. As soon as possible. He had a slot at 7 the next morning. I booked it. My mother started sobbing. Emily, please. I ended the call. Then I called Daniel and left a voicemail saying I had a personal emergency and would take a vacation day tomorrow. After that, I emailed him too, Because even in the middle of my life collapsing, I was still me. My father stepped forward. Emily, slow down. No, you're upset. Yes. Decisions made while upset. I made this decision before tonight. His face shifted. That hurt him. Good. Not because I wanted to hurt him, but because maybe pain was the only thing left in that house that could make anyone understand consequences. My mother reached for my arm. We can fix the room. Noah can move back. Vanessa can put her clothes somewhere else. Right, Vanessa? Vanessa's mouth tightened. My mother looked at her desperately. Right? Vanessa gave a stiff shrug. If that's what everyone wants. I looked at my mother. You still don't get it. She cried harder. It's not the room, I said. It's that you thought I would accept the couch after paying to keep this house running. It's that you asked me for $1,800 a month and then decided I didn't need a bed. It's that you move my things like I had no say in my own life. My father's voice lowered. We made a mistake. You made a choice. That silenced him. Vanessa scoffed. Oh my God, you finally get a little money and suddenly you're better than everyone. I turned to her. You don't know what I have, but you have something. The room chilled. There it was. That hungry certainty. You've been hiding it, she said. I knew it. My mother looked at me, wounded. Is that true? I almost answered. I almost told them everything right there. Safe Nest, Bright Shield, Daniel, the contract, the $500,000, the royalties, the condo, the reason I had been quiet, careful, terrified. But then I looked at my open laptop in the hallway, at the bank envelope, at Vanessa's face, and I decided they did not deserve the truth while standing among the evidence of why I had hidden it. I'm done talking tonight, I said. Vanessa laughed. Of course you are. I walked past her and began gathering my things. Not everything. Just what could not wait. Laptop. External drives. Documents. My work badge. Chargers. The stuffed bear. 2 changes of clothes. My medication. The folder with my closing documents, which, thank God, had not been in the room. My mother followed me, crying softly. My father stood like a statue. Vanessa watched from the hall. Mark disappeared into the living room. When I picked up my laptop, I checked the system log automatically. Failed login attempts, 8. 8. I closed it carefully. Then I looked at Vanessa. She lifted her eyebrows. What? Nothing. Because if I asked, she would lie. If Noah had done it, she would use him. If Mark had done it, she would defend him. If my mother had allowed it, she would cry. And I was too tired to drag confessions out of people who already knew what they had done. I packed a small overnight bag. Then I left. Not for good. Not yet. The movers would come in the morning, but I did not sleep on their couch. I booked a cheap hotel 15 minutes away and sat on the edge of a strange bed with ugly green carpet beneath my shoes and my laptop open on my knees. For the first time in months, no one was on the other side of the door. I should have slept. Instead, I backed up everything again. I changed passwords again. I sent Rachel a message. Family situation escalated. I may need keys as soon as legally possible. She replied quickly. We'll make sure you have access tomorrow after signing. I'm sorry, Emily. I stared at that message for a long time. I'm sorry. 2 words my own family had not managed. Around midnight, I realized I had forgotten my Social Security card. It was not in the bag. It was not in my secure folder. Then I remembered a small fireproof document pouch in the back of the closet. I had planned to move it after closing. I had been so careful and, still, I had missed something. I considered waiting until morning, but the thought of that pouch in the house made my skin crawl. So I drove back. The rain had slowed to a mist. The street was dark except for porch lights and the yellow glow from my parents' kitchen window. I parked 2 houses down and walked quietly to the side door. I still had my key, for now. Inside, the house was dim. The living room was empty. A lamp glowed near the couch. Noah was asleep somewhere. My father's shoes were by the door. Voices came from the kitchen. Vanessa. And my mother. I froze. I should have left. Instead, I stood in the hallway, hidden by the wall, and listened. Vanessa spoke first, low and irritated. "She's bluffing." My mother sounded exhausted. "I don't think she is. She bought a condo? Emily? Come on." "She said she did. She's hiding money. I've been telling you." A pause. Then my mother said quietly, "Maybe she saved." Vanessa laughed under her breath. "From what? She pays you 900, now 1800. She doesn't spend, sure, but a condo? No. Something happened." My mother did not answer. Vanessa continued, "If she really has a place, that could actually solve a lot." My body went still. "What do you mean?" My mother asked. "I mean, think about it. She's one person. One. We're three. Noah needs stability. Mark needs to be closer to work. We can't stay cramped here forever." "Vanessa." "What?" "I'm being practical. That's Emily's home. She hasn't even moved in yet." Silence. A long one. Then Vanessa said, softer, more dangerous, "Mom, you know Emily. She'll be angry for a few days, but she always comes around. You cry. Dad talks about college. You remind her what family means. She hates being thought of as selfish." My mother's voice trembled. "That feels wrong." "But is it wrong for Noah to have a safe place? Is it wrong to ask Emily to help her nephew? She already helps. She can do more." My stomach turned. Then my mother said nothing. That was the part that broke whatever small piece of hope I had carried into that house. She did not agree, but she did not refuse. She did not say, "No, Vanessa, that is your sister's home." She did not say, "We have taken enough." She did not say, "Emily deserves something of her own." She only sat in silence, considering the shape of another sacrifice I had not offered. I stepped backward before I could hear more. The floor creaked. Vanessa's voice cut off. "Did you hear that?" I moved quickly down the hallway and into what used to be my room. Noah was asleep in my bed, one arm thrown over the superhero blanket. His toy dinosaur lay near his pillow. I opened the closet as quietly as possible. The document pouch was still there, shoved behind a bin of Noah's winter clothes. My winter clothes had been removed. His had replaced them. I took the pouch. As I turned, Noah stirred. "Aunt Emily," he whispered. I froze. "Yeah," I said softly. "It's me." "Are you mad?" My throat tightened. "No, buddy, not at you. Mom said you're leaving." "I am." His eyes opened a little more. "Because of my room?" "No." I sat carefully on the edge of the bed. My bed. His bed now. "Because grown-ups made some choices they shouldn't have made." He frowned. "Can I still see you?" The question hit me harder than anything Vanessa had said. I touched his hair lightly. "Of course. Mom said maybe we can visit your new place." My hand stopped. "What else did your mom say?" He was half asleep, words loose and honest. "She said maybe if you love me, you'll let us stay there." I closed my eyes. For 1 second, I hated Vanessa with a purity that scared me. Then I opened them and smiled at Noah, because he did not deserve to carry that hate. "My place is going to be very small," I said. "But you can visit sometime." "Visit, okay?" He nodded sleepily. "Okay." I stood. "Go back to sleep." As I slipped out, I saw Vanessa at the end of the hallway. She had heard enough. Her face was pale with anger. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Getting my documents." "At midnight?" "Before they disappear." Her eyes narrowed. "You are unbelievable." "No," I said quietly. "I'm finally believable to myself." She stepped closer. "You're going to regret this." "Probably," I said, "but not as much as I'd regret staying." I walked past her. She did not stop me. Maybe because my mother was now standing in the kitchen doorway, eyes full of shame. Maybe because even Vanessa knew there was no performance left that could make this look innocent. I left without another word. The next morning, the movers arrived at 7. I was already there. So was my family. My mother had clearly not slept. Her eyes were swollen. My father stood near the porch in the same flannel shirt he wore when fixing things around the house. Vanessa sat at the kitchen table drinking coffee like she was attending a show she disapproved of. Mark leaned against the counter, silent. Noah watched from the stairs in pajamas. The moving truck backed into the driveway with a loud beep. A man in a navy jacket stepped out. Emily Carter? That's me. He glanced at the house, the boxes, the tense faces behind me. To his credit, he asked no questions. Show us what's going. My boxes in the hallway, I said. The bed, if we can take it. The desk in the garage. My chair, books, clothes. My mother made a small sound. You're taking the bed? I turned. It's mine. But Noah. Vanessa stood so fast the chair scraped. Noah slept in it last night. Then he had one night in it. My mother looked stricken. I could see her wanting to say something about the child, about comfort, about cruelty. I looked at her and waited. She said nothing. The movers went to work. They carried boxes. They carried books. They retrieved my desk from the garage where it had been shoved beside paint cans and a broken lawn chair. One leg was scratched. I ran my hand over the mark and felt a ridiculous surge of tenderness. This ugly desk had held my future better than my family had. My father came into the garage while I was checking the drawers. Where is the condo? He asked. Near work. What building? I'm not giving you the address right now. His face fell. I'm your father. I know. I would never hurt you. I looked at him. You let them move my things. He flinched. I didn't know they would open your laptop. But you knew about the room. He looked away. That was enough. Back inside, my mother was crying again. Emily, please don't do this like this. Like what? Angry, sudden, cutting us off. Mom, you put my belongings in the hallway. We were wrong. You were. We can fix it. You can't fix what this showed me. Vanessa laughed from the kitchen. Oh, please, you were looking for an excuse. I turned. She stood with one hand on her hip. You wanted to leave, and now you get to act like we forced you. You did force me. No, you're abandoning your family because you got money. There it was again. Money. Always money. My mother's crying softened into a wounded silence. My father's eyes moved to me. Mark's too. Vanessa had said it out loud, and now they were all listening for the answer. I smiled faintly. You keep saying I got money. Vanessa's face tightened. Didn't you? I got tired. She scoffed. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting today. The movers carried my mattress down the stairs. Noah watched with wide eyes. Where will I sleep? He asked. Before Vanessa could weaponize the question, I knelt in front of him. Your mom and dad will figure that out, I said gently. That's their job. Vanessa's mouth opened. I stood before she could speak. The lead mover came in. Ma'am, we've got most of it. Anything else? I looked around. The hallway was nearly empty now. My life looked small in their truck. Smaller than I expected, but it was mine. No, I said. That's everything. My mother stepped forward. What about the house money? I stared at her. For a moment, I truly did not understand. Then I did. Even now. Even with the movers at the door. Even after my room had been taken. My mail opened, my laptop touched, my bed loaded into a truck. She was asking about the money. What about it? I said. The bills, she whispered. Groceries, utilities, the mortgage. We counted on you. You counted on me too much. Emily, Vanessa and Mark are adults. They both work. They can contribute. Vanessa barked out a laugh. With what? Mark makes half what he used to. Then spend half what you used to. Her face flushed. You have no idea what it's like to raise a child. No, I said, but I know children are not excuses for adults to take things that don't belong to them. Mark finally spoke. That's enough. I looked at him. You're right. It is. Vanessa stepped into the hallway. You know what? That condo would make more sense for us. The room went quiet. Even my mother stopped crying. Vanessa continued, encouraged by her own audacity. You're one person, Emily. One. You don't need a whole condo. We have Noah. We need stability. He needs his own room. We need to get back on our feet. I stared at her. There it was. The thing I had heard in the kitchen. Now spoken in daylight. No, I said. You haven't even heard me out. I heard enough last night. Her face changed. My mother looked down. Vanessa recovered quickly. So you were spying. I came for my documents and heard you planning how to guilt me into giving you my home. I said we could ask. You said Mom could cry. Dad could bring up college. And I'd come around because I'm afraid of being called selfish. My father turned slowly toward my mother. Linda, My mother covered her face. Vanessa snapped, "Don't act innocent. Everyone was thinking it." "I wasn't," my father said, but his voice was too weak. Too late. I looked at Vanessa. "You will not live in my condo." "Emily?" "No. You could help your nephew. Noah can visit me. He will not be used to take from me." Her eyes filled with rage. "You selfish little—" "Careful," I said. She stopped, shocked by my tone. I stepped closer. "I have paid. I have lent. I have stayed. I have swallowed every insult because every time I defended myself, Mom cried, Dad shut down, and you turned Noah into a shield. That ends today." My mother whispered, "Please don't go like this." I turned to her. "You pushed me out before I walked through the door." The mover cleared his throat gently from the porch. "Ma'am, we're ready." I picked up my overnight bag, my document pouch, and my laptop. My father's voice broke behind me. "Emily." I paused. For a second, I wanted him to say it. "I'm sorry. Not be careful. Not call us. Not what about the bills. Just, I'm sorry." He opened his mouth, closed it, then said, "Text us when you get there." I nodded once. Sure. It was not forgiveness. It was habit. I walked out into the cold morning. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still heavy and gray. Water dripped from the gutters. The moving truck waited at the curb with my life inside it. Vanessa called from the doorway. "Everyone is going to know what you did." I turned. "What did I do?" "You abandoned us." I looked at my mother, then my father, then Mark, then Vanessa. Noah stood between them, small and confused. "No," I said. "You made a home where I paid to be unwanted. I'm just finally leaving it." Vanessa's face twisted. "You think you're better than us now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done being less than all of you." Then I got into my car. As I pulled away, I looked once in the rearview mirror. My parents' house sat behind me, beige siding, wet driveway, porch lights still on, though morning had come. Vanessa stood in the doorway with her arms crossed. My mother leaned against the frame. My father stood behind her. Noah lifted one hand in a small wave. I waved back. Then I followed the moving truck toward the city, toward the condo I had bought in secret, toward a room no one could take from me. The closer we got to Chicago, the lighter the sky became. Not sunny, not bright, just less dark. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. "Mom." I let it ring. Then Dad. Then Vanessa. Then Mom again. I turned the phone face down. At a red light, I looked at my hands on the steering wheel. They were steady. For months, I had imagined leaving as a dramatic thing. A door slam. A fight. Screaming. Tears. A clean break made of fire. But leaving felt quieter than that. It felt like taking off a backpack I had forgotten I was carrying. It felt like grief. It felt like fear. It felt like guilt waiting somewhere ahead, patient and familiar. But beneath all of that, there was something else. Space. The moving truck turned onto the street where my condo building stood. Glass doors. Small lobby. Security camera above the entrance. A front desk attendant I had met once during inspection. My new building. My new address. My new life. Still empty. Still echoing. Still uncertain. Rachel was waiting near the entrance with a folder in one hand and keys in the other. When I stepped out of the car, she took one look at my face and did not ask if I was okay. She only held out the keys. "Welcome home, Emily," she said. I stared at the keys in her palm. Small, silver, ordinary, mine. My throat tightened so suddenly I had to look away. The movers began unloading boxes behind me. Cars passed on the wet street. Somewhere above us, a dog barked from an apartment window. My phone buzzed again. I did not look. I closed my fingers around the keys. For the first time in years, I was standing outside a door that no one in my family had the right to open. And even though I was exhausted, even though my chest hurt, even though part of me still wanted my mother to call and say the one apology I knew she probably wouldn't give, I felt the first clean breath of something I had almost forgotten existed. Safety. Not because nothing bad could happen, but because, finally, the lock belonged to me. The first night in my condo, I slept on a mattress on the floor. Not because I had to, Because the movers had leaned my bed frame against the bedroom wall, and by the time they left, I no longer had the strength to assemble anything. The boxes sat everywhere, stacked like silent witnesses. My books were piled in the corner. My desk had been placed near the living room window, scratched leg and all. My clothes were still trapped in trash bags because I could not look at them without remembering the hallway. The condo smelled like cardboard, dust, and cold takeout. It was not cozy yet. It was not beautiful yet. It was barely functional. But when I closed this door, locked it, and stood with my back against it, I heard something I had not heard in years. Nothing. No television. No Vanessa calling my name. No Noah running down the hallway. No Mark opening the fridge at midnight. No my mother knocking and entering before I answered. No my father muttering that I spent too much time on the computer. Just the low hum of the refrigerator. The distant sound of traffic below. My own breathing. At first, the silence frightened me. It was too large, too clean, too honest. In my parents' house, noise had filled every corner. Even when no one spoke, guilt did. Responsibility did. The constant awareness that someone might need something from me did. Here, no one needed anything, and I did not know what to do with that. I walked from room to room, though there were only 3 real spaces to inspect: bedroom, bathroom, living room, with a small open kitchen. I checked the locks twice, then 3 times. I opened the balcony door, felt the cold night air touch my face, and closed it again. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Mom. I let it ring. A minute later, Dad. Then Vanessa. Then Mom again. I turned the phone off. The silence returned. That should have made me feel peaceful. Instead, I sat on the mattress and cried so hard I had to press a pillow over my mouth, even though there was no one there to hear me. I cried because I was free. I cried because I had wanted freedom so badly that I had forgotten freedom could feel like grief. I cried because my mother had asked about the house money before asking where I would sleep. I cried because my father had told me to text when I got there instead of saying he was sorry. I cried because Noah had asked if he could still see me, and I knew Vanessa would use him every chance she got. Mostly, I cried because some small, stupid part of me had believed that once I left, they would understand. They did not. By morning, my phone looked like evidence in a trial. 23 missed calls, 4 voicemails, dozens of messages. My mother's text came first. Emily, please call me. You scared me yesterday. We need to talk as a family. Your father barely slept. I don't know how we're going to handle the bills this month. Please don't punish us. I read that one twice. Punish us. As if my leaving had been an act of revenge. As if taking away my money from people who had taken away my room was cruelty. My father's messages were shorter. Let us know you're safe. Your mom is upset. We should talk. This got out of hand. Can you help with groceries this week at least? At least. That almost made me laugh. Vanessa's messages came in waves, changing tone every few hours, as if she were trying different keys in a lock. First came outrage. You really walked out on Mom and Dad. Hope you're proud of yourself. Noah cried after you left. You took his bed. What kind of aunt does that? Then came guilt. He keeps asking why you hate him. Mom can't stop crying. Dad looks sick. You always said family mattered. I guess that was a lie. Then came accusation. You've been hiding money. I know it. Nobody buys a condo overnight. You think you're better than us now. Just wait until everyone hears what you did. Then came need. Mark has something urgent to handle. If you actually care about Noah, call me. This isn't about me. It's about a child. I did not respond. Not because it was easy. Because if I answered one message, they would pull me into the same old room with the same old script. Vanessa would accuse. Mom would cry. Dad would sigh. Mark would stay silent until money came up. Noah's name would become a rope around my neck. So I placed the phone face down and began unpacking. I started with the things that made the condo livable. Plates, 2 bowls, 1 pan, coffee mugs, a towel, soap, my toothbrush. Clean sheets, then my laptop, monitor, keyboard, and hard drives. I assembled my desk before I assembled my bed. That probably said something about me. The desk wobbled slightly because of the scratched leg, but I tightened the screws, shoved a folded piece of cardboard under one corner, and placed it beside the window. When I set my laptop on it, I felt something inside me settle. This was where Safe Nest would continue. This was where no one would touch my keyboard. This was where I could work until midnight, and the only person affected by the electric bill would be me. By the third day, the internet was installed. By the fifth, I had curtains. By the sixth, I bought a small plant from a grocery store because the windowsill looked too empty. The tag said it was hard to kill. That felt appropriate. By the end of the week, I had stopped jumping every time the hallway outside my door made noise. Mostly. On Saturday morning, I turned my phone back on after a full night with it off. The first message that appeared was from my mother. "We put your room back." I stared at it. Then another message arrived. "Noah is in the small room again. Vanessa moved her clothes. Please come home so we can talk." Come home. Not come over. Not visit. Come home. As if my condo were a tantrum. As if my leaving were temporary. As if the room had been the problem and not the people who had believed I could be moved like furniture. I did not want to go. Every cell in my body resisted it. But there were conversations that kept poisoning you until you had them. I knew my family. If I stayed silent, Vanessa would build her story without opposition. My mother would turn my refusal to answer into proof that I was cold. My father would hide behind confusion. They would tell relatives half-truths, and maybe I should not have cared. But I did. Not enough to go back. Enough to speak. So I texted my mother, "I'll come by at 11. I'm not moving back. I'm coming to talk." Her reply came almost instantly. "Of course, honey, just talk." I knew she ignored the important sentence on purpose. At 10:45, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror and looked at myself. I wore jeans, a black sweater, and boots. Nothing dramatic, nothing Vanessa could call attention-seeking. My hair was tied back. My face looked paler than usual, but my eyes were clear. Before leaving, I put my phone in my coat pocket and turned on the voice recorder. I stared at the red recording dot for a moment. It felt ugly. Then I remembered my laptop screen, my open bank envelope, Vanessa saying mom could cry and dad could mention college. I pressed the button to lock the screen. I was not recording to hurt them. I was recording because I had finally learned that memory in my family could be edited by whoever cried loudest. My parents' house looked exactly the same when I pulled up. That offended me. Some childish part of me had expected it to look different without me. Smaller, darker, ashamed. But the beige siding was the same. The porch light was off because it was daytime. My father's sedan sat in the driveway. Vanessa's SUV was at the curb. Mark's pickup was behind it. Nothing had collapsed. That was important to see. They had survived a week without my money. The world had not ended. My mother opened the door before I knocked. "Oh, Emily." She pulled me into a hug so tight my ribs hurt. For 1 second, my body remembered being a child, remembered her perfume, remembered hiding in her arms after nightmares, remembered believing that mothers were safe places by definition. Then she whispered, "Thank God you came home." I stepped back. I didn't come home. I came to talk. Her face flickered. "Yes, of course, talk." The living room had been staged. I could tell immediately. The couch pillows were arranged neatly. The coffee table was clear except for a tissue box and a tray of mugs no one had touched. My father sat in his chair, hands clasped. Vanessa and Mark sat together on the couch. Noah was on the floor with Legos, glancing at me with uncertain hope. The doorway to my old room was open. The superhero sheets were gone. My gray blanket was back on the bed. My books were stacked on the shelf, not in the right order. My whiteboard leaned against the wall instead of hanging. The room looked like someone had tried to recreate a photograph from memory. My mother saw me looking. "We fixed it," she said quickly. "Everything is back." I turned to her. "No, Mom, it isn't." Her eyes filled at once. I hated that I still reacted to that. I sat in the armchair across from the couch, not beside anyone. I kept my purse on my lap. My father cleared his throat. Emily, we've all had time to cool down. Vanessa looked at the ceiling. I ignored her. My father continued. We made mistakes. I waited. He swallowed. The room situation should have been handled differently. The room situation. I almost smiled. That was how families like mine survived guilt. They renamed harm until it sounded like a scheduling error. You mean taking my room while I was at work? I said. He looked down. Yes. My mother leaned forward. We're sorry, honey. The words landed, but not deeply, because I could hear the shape of what came after them. We were under stress, she continued. With Vanessa and Mark and Noah here and bills and emotions running high, we weren't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to move my desk into the garage. Vanessa snapped. Do you want an apology or a punishment ritual? I turned to her. I want honesty. She laughed. That's rich. Mark put a hand on her knee. Vanessa. She shook him off. My mother quickly said, We just want the family back together. I looked around the room. What part of the family? My mother blinked. What do you mean? Do you miss me? Or do you miss what I paid for? Her mouth opened, closed. The room went quiet. Noah clicked 2 Lego pieces together. My father rubbed his forehead. Vanessa gave a bitter smile. Wow. I looked at my mother. Answer me. Tears slid down her cheeks. Of course I miss you. But there are bills, Emily. There it was. Soft, tearful, honest, finally. There are always bills, I said. My father leaned forward. We're not asking you to move back today. That's good, because I'm not. But maybe, he said carefully, while everyone adjusts, you could continue helping. Not 1,800, maybe the original 900, just for a few months. Vanessa shifted, impatient. I looked at her. Not enough? Her eyes flashed. This affects all of us. No, my money affects all of you. That's different. My mother pressed a tissue to her lips. Emily, please don't speak like that. How should I speak? In a way that lets everyone pretend this isn't about money? Vanessa leaned forward. Fine, let's talk about money. Mark closed his eyes. Vanessa ignored him. You bought a condo. You clearly have money. You were living here, paying almost nothing compared to rent, stacking cash somewhere while the rest of us drowned. I stared at her. You were drowning in restaurant bills and credit card debt. You don't know what we were drowning in. I know enough. Her face tightened. No, you don't. You sit on your little pile of money and judge. I earned my money. Everyone earns money. Then earn enough to pay your own debts. My mother gasped. Emily? Mark finally spoke. Vanessa, stop. But Vanessa was past stopping. No, she said. I'm tired of everyone acting like Emily is some victim. She got what she wanted, her own little condo, her own little life. Fine. But she doesn't get to abandon her family and still act morally superior. I stayed quiet. That made her angrier. She leaned back and folded her arms. Actually, I have a solution. I almost did not want to hear it. Almost. What solution? I asked. You stay at your condo, she said. That's what you want, right? Independence? Privacy? Fine. But you keep helping mom and dad a monthly amount? Something reasonable. No. Her jaw tightened. You didn't let me finish? I didn't need you to, my father said softly. Emily, maybe hear her out. I looked at him. He looked away. Vanessa continued, encouraged. Or there's another option, a more practical one. I felt the temperature in the room drop. Mark and I could move into your condo with Noah. My mother closed her eyes. My father froze. Mark whispered, Vanessa. She ignored him. You could move back here with mom and dad. That way they aren't alone. And Noah has stability. You're one person, Emily. You don't need a whole place in the city. A strange calm moved through me. It was the same calm I had felt in the hallway when she told me I had nowhere to go. No, I said. You're being selfish. No, Noah needs parents who stop using him as a crowbar. Her face went red. How dare you? How dare you ask for my home after taking my room? You are so dramatic. You are so predictable. She stood. You know what? At least help Mark. The room changed. Mark's head snapped toward her. Vanessa. What? She snapped. We're already here. We might as well tell the truth. My mother looked confused. What truth? Vanessa's face twisted with frustration, fear, and something like resentment. There's a payment due, she said. A serious one. My father sat straighter. What payment? Mark stood. It's handled? No, it's not, Vanessa said. Stop saying that. I watched her carefully. My mother's voice shook. Vanessa, what is going on? Vanessa looked at me with hatred, as if I had caused the confession simply by existing. Mark's old company wants the money back faster than we thought. If he doesn't pay, they might file charges. The words spread through the room like smoke. My mother went pale. Robert looked at Mark. How much? Mark said nothing. How much, Mark? Vanessa answered. Enough. My father stood. How much? Mark's shoulders sagged. 12,000. My mother covered her mouth. $12,000? It was more, Mark muttered. I paid some. With what? I asked. His eyes cut to me. Vanessa answered again. Don't start. I looked at Mark. With what? His silence told me enough. Some of the money Vanessa had borrowed from me had probably gone toward his mess. Not Noah's shoes, not school, not emotional recovery. Mark's debt. My stomach turned. My mother sat down slowly. You told us it was settled. Vanessa threw up her hands. What were we supposed to do? Everyone was already judging him. He stole money, I said. Vanessa pointed at me. Shut up. The room went still. Noah looked up from his Legos. My mother whispered. Vanessa. I stood. My voice was low. Do not tell me to shut up in a room where you are asking me to pay for your husband's crime. Mark's face darkened. It's not your place to call it that. Then what would you prefer? Mistake? Pressure? Misunderstanding? Borrowing? His jaw worked. I looked at my mother. This is why they needed money. She was crying silently now. I almost softened. Then she looked at me and said, Could you help just this once? Everything inside me went quiet. Not numb. Clear. Mom. She clasped her hands together. I know it's not fair. But if they file charges, Noah's life will be ruined. Vanessa's life will be ruined. Mark made a mistake, but he's still family. And I'm what? She blinked through tears. What? What am I? My daughter. Then why does being your daughter always mean I'm the one who pays? She sobbed. I don't know what else to do. That was the saddest answer she could have given. Because I believed her. She did not know what else to do. She had grown so used to reaching for me when money burned that she had forgotten I was not a fire extinguisher mounted on the family wall. Vanessa wiped her face angrily. You act like helping us would kill you. No. Helping you once didn't kill me. Helping you over and over while you learned nothing almost did. You're sitting there with a condo. Yes. How? There it was. The question beneath every question. I looked at each of them. My father, ashamed and confused. My mother, crying and desperate. Mark, cornered. Vanessa, hungry. Noah, too young to understand that the adults in the room were building scars he would spend years trying to name. Maybe I should have kept the truth to myself forever. But lies had filled his house long enough. I sold Safe Nest, I said. No one spoke. Vanessa frowned. What? My security application. The one I built at night. The one all of you thought was me playing on the computer. My mother's lips parted. Application? The motion detection system, I said. Smart alerts, camera integration, false positive filtering. My father stared at me. That was real? I almost laughed. Yes, Dad, it was real. I looked at him, and I let him feel that. Every night he had dismissed it. Every comment about me not meeting anyone, every joke about my computer. It had all been real. Bright Shield bought the rights, I continued. They're developing it into a product. Mark straightened slightly. Vanessa's eyes sharpened. How much? Of course. Not congratulations. Not you did that? Not we're proud of you. How much? I looked at her. $500,000. My mother made a sound like the air had been knocked out of her. My father sat down. Mark stared at me with naked calculation. Vanessa went completely still. 500,000, she repeated. And royalties, I said. I do not know why I added that. Maybe because a part of me wanted to see, fully and finally, whether anyone in that room could be happy for me before wanting something from me. No one was. My mother whispered, You kept that from us? Yes. How could you? I felt a sad smile touch my mouth. That is the first question you ask? Her face crumpled. We're your parents. And you took my room while I was paying $1,800 a month. My father covered his face with one hand. Vanessa recovered first. So you let us sit here terrified, knowing you could fix everything? I could not fix everything. You could fix this. No, I could pay for it. That's not the same. Mark stepped forward. Emily, listen. If you could loan us the $12,000, I could pay you back. I looked at him. You took money from a company and didn't pay it back. Why would I believe you'd pay me? His face flushed. That's different. No, it's actually very useful information. Vanessa exploded. You arrogant little brat, my mother cried. Vanessa, stop. No, Vanessa snapped. She has $500,000 and she's letting us suffer. I turned to her. You suffered consequences. There's a difference. Her hand lifted slightly. Not quite a slap, not quite nothing. Mark grabbed her wrist. Noah started crying. That sound cut through the room. For a moment, every adult froze. Noah stood, tears spilling down his cheeks. Is Dad going to jail? Vanessa's face shattered. Oh, baby, no. He backed away from her. You said Aunt Emily could help. The room went silent again. I crouched slightly, keeping my voice gentle. Noah, this is not your fault. He looked at me. Do you hate us? My chest hurt. No, I don't hate you. Then why won't you help? Vanessa closed her eyes as if his question were proof of her righteousness. But I looked at Noah and told him the truth in the only way a child might understand. Because sometimes helping adults avoid consequences makes things worse later, and because money can't be the only way someone proves love. He cried harder. My mother went to him. I stood. My legs felt weak, but my voice did not. I am going to say this once. Everyone looked at me. I am grateful for what you did for me when I was growing up. I know college was expensive. I know you worked hard. I know there were sacrifices. I have never denied that. My mother sobbed quietly. That gratitude is why I stayed. It's why I paid every month. It's why I gave money when Vanessa asked. It's why I ignored insults about my clothes, my job, my life, my being single. It's why I kept trying to be useful, even after useful became the only thing anyone saw when they looked at me. Vanessa looked away. I continued. But gratitude is not a lifetime sentence. My father's eyes closed. I am not responsible for Mark's debt. I am not responsible for Vanessa's spending. I am not responsible for the mortgage on a house where I was told to sleep on the couch. I am not responsible for protecting everyone from the consequences of choices I did not make. Vanessa whispered, Unbelievable. I turned to her. No. What's unbelievable is that after all this, you heard I built something worth $500,000, and your first thought was how much of it you could use. Her face twisted. You think you're better than me? No, Vanessa. I think I'm finally done being used by you. I looked at my parents. I will always be your daughter. I will answer if there is a true emergency. I will visit when I'm ready. I will not cut Noah out of my life. But I will not send monthly money anymore. I will not pay Mark's debt. I will not give Vanessa my condo. I will not be the family bank. My mother whispered, Emily, please. No. The word was small, but it felt like lifting a building off my chest. My father looked at me with red eyes. I'm sorry, he said. The room stopped. I had wanted those words so badly that hearing them now almost hurt more than not hearing them. He continued, voice rough. I should have stopped it. The room, the money, all of it. I kept telling myself I was keeping peace. I swallowed. You weren't keeping peace, Dad. You were keeping quiet. He nodded. A tear slipped down his face. I know. My mother looked at him, startled, almost betrayed. Vanessa scoffed. Oh, great. Now everyone's going to act like Emily's the saint. I picked up my purse. That was enough. My mother stood. Don't leave like this. I'm not leaving angry, I said. It was not entirely true, but it was true enough. I'm leaving tired. Vanessa wiped her cheeks. If you walk out, don't expect us to come crawling back. I looked at her. You've been crawling toward my wallet for years. Her face went white. My mother gasped. I did not apologize. I walked to the door. Noah ran after me. Aunt Emily. I turned. He stood near the hallway, small and scared. Can I still see your plant? I blinked. What? You said you got a plant. I had mentioned it in one of the messages I almost sent him, but didn't. Or maybe my mother had told him. I did not know. I smiled, though my throat burned. Yes, you can see my plant. When? Soon. When things are calmer. He nodded. Okay. I wanted to hug him, but Vanessa's eyes were on me, and I knew she would turn even affection into leverage. So I only said, "Be good, buddy." Then I left. This time, no one stopped me. The weeks after that were ugly. Not dramatic in the way movies are dramatic. No one stood outside my building in the rain. No one pounded on my door. No one had a sudden transformation. Real life is usually uglier because it repeats itself. My mother texted every few days. Sometimes she said she missed me. Sometimes she said she understood. Sometimes she sent pictures of old family dinners, old Christmas mornings, old school photos where I had missing teeth and Vanessa had her arm around me. Then, somehow, always, the message curved toward money. The water heater's making noise. Your father's car needs repairs. Noah's school has fees. Could you just help this once? My father sent fewer messages. I'm sorry about how things happened. I'm trying to talk to your mother. I hope you're eating. No pressure, but if you can help with the electric bill, let me know. No pressure. Vanessa was worse. She sent insults. Then apologies that were really accusations wearing makeup. Then pictures of Noah. Then long paragraphs about how lonely he was. Then screenshots of bills. Then silence. Then more insults. Mark never contacted me. I later heard through a cousin that he negotiated a repayment plan with his old company by borrowing from his own brother. Apparently, consequences were survivable when I was not available to absorb them. My parents did not lose the house. Vanessa and Mark did not end up on the street. Noah did not starve. The family did not collapse. They adjusted. That was the part that made me angriest at first. They could adjust. They had always been able to adjust. They had simply preferred not to while I was there to make adjustment unnecessary. 6 months passed. My condo became a home slowly, not all at once. First came curtains, then a real bed frame, then a bookshelf, then a rug soft enough that I liked walking barefoot in the morning. I bought 4 matching plates because I was tired of eating off whatever I had unpacked first. I bought a better coffee maker. I hung my Bright Shield certificate beside my desk, then took it down, then hung it again because I deserved to see it. The plant lived. Against all odds, it grew 2 new leaves. I named it Kevin, after the lawyer who had calmly told me I was about to receive $500,000 like he was telling me the forecast. SafeNest moved forward at Bright Shield. The product team renamed it Bright Nest, which I hated at first, but eventually accepted because engineers rarely win naming battles. I stayed involved in development. The royalties began arriving quarterly. Smaller than the original payment, of course, but still more than I had ever imagined earning from something I built in stolen hours. People at work treated me differently. Not badly, just differently. Daniel gave me more responsibility. Marissa invited me into product strategy meetings. Engineers who had barely noticed me asked for my thoughts. I learned to speak without apologizing before every sentence. At first, praise made me uncomfortable. Then it made me angry. Not at the people praising me, at how unfamiliar it felt. At how long I had lived in a house where my work was invisible until it could be converted into money for someone else. I also bought clothes. Not many, not designer. Just clothes that fit well and made me feel like I had chosen to be seen. Vanessa would have hated them. That made me enjoy them more than I should have. In late spring, I started seeing someone. His name was Ethan Cole, and he worked in cybersecurity for another company in the same building. We met because he held the elevator for me when I was carrying too many coffee cups after a team meeting. One cup spilled on his sleeve, and instead of acting annoyed, he said, "I've had worse security breaches." It was such a bad joke that I laughed. Our first date was coffee. Our second was tacos. On the third, he asked why I always looked surprised when he listened without interrupting. I almost lied. Instead, I told him a small part of the truth, then more. Not everything. Not all at once, but enough. I told him about paying my parents, about Vanessa, about the room, about Safe Nest, about the condo, about how freedom still felt like guilt some nights. He did not say, "But they're your family." He did not say, "Maybe they meant well." He did not say, "You should forgive them." He only said, "That must have been lonely." I had to look away because, yes, that was the word. Not dramatic, not selfish. Lonely. It is lonely to be needed but not known. It is lonely to be praised only when paying. It is lonely to sit at a family table surrounded by people who would panic if you stopped providing, but barely notice when you stopped smiling. Some nights, even after everything, guilt still came. It came quietly, usually when the condo was clean and warm and mine. I would think of my mother packing my school lunches, my father teaching me to ride a bike in the cracked driveway, Vanessa letting me borrow her red scarf in high school because I wanted to look older, Noah asking if he could still see my plant. Memory's not fair. It brings back love right when you need anger to hold a boundary. But then I would remember the hallway, my clothes in trash bags, my laptop open, too many incorrect password attempts, my bank envelope torn, my desk in the garage, my mother asking about bills while movers carried away my bed, Vanessa saying my condo made more sense for her family because I was only one person, Mark looking at my money like it was a rope thrown to him, my father silent until silence had already done its damage, and I would understand again. Leaving had not destroyed my family. It had only removed me as the thing holding up everyone else's denial. One evening, about 6 months after I moved out, I came home from work just after sunset. The sky was lavender over the buildings. My condo was quiet when I opened the door. Kevin, the plant, leaned slightly toward the window. My desk waited in its corner, laptop closed, monitor dark. On the kitchen counter sat a small stack of mail addressed only to me. I locked the door, hung up my coat, put my keys in the little ceramic dish I had bought at a street market. Then my phone buzzed. Mom. For a moment, I only looked at it. Then I answered, "Hi, Mom." There was a pause. "Hi, honey." She sounded older, or maybe I was finally hearing her without the noise of obligation in the way. "How are you?" she asked. I waited for the turn. The bill, the crisis, the request. "I'm okay," I said. "How are you?" "We're fine." Another pause. "Your father says hello." "Tell him I said hi." "I will." Silence stretched between us. Then she said, "Noah misses you." "I miss him too. He drew your plant at school." Despite myself, I smiled. "Kevin? Kevin?" she repeated. "My plant." For the first time in a long time, my mother laughed softly. A real laugh. Small but real. Then she grew quiet. "Emily." "Yes? I don't know how to talk to you without asking for things." The honesty stunned me. I sat down slowly at my desk. My eyes burned. "Then maybe start there," I said. She exhaled shakily. "I'm sorry." I closed my eyes. This apology was different from the living room apology. No excuses. No immediate request after it. Just 2 words standing on their own. "I hear you," I said. I was not ready to say it was okay, because it wasn't. Maybe one day parts of it would be, maybe not. Forgiveness, I was learning, did not have to mean reopening the door to the same harm. My mother sniffed. "Can I call again next week?" I looked around my condo. At the desk. At the plant. At the locked door. At the life I had built by refusing to keep abandoning myself. "Yes," I said. "You can call." After we hung up, I sat in the quiet for a long time. It no longer felt empty. That was the difference. In my parents' house, silence had meant someone was angry, waiting, judging, preparing to ask. Here, silence meant peace. My peace. I opened my laptop and checked the latest brightness build. A test alert appeared on the screen. Person detected near front entry. I smiled faintly and closed the notification. For years, I had mistaken family for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to spend. Permission to leave. Permission to say no. Permission to be hurt. But no one was coming to grant me those things. I had to take them. I had to become the locked door, the changed password, the account no one could access, the home no one could claim, the voice that did not shake when it said enough. People would still call that selfish. Maybe Vanessa always would. Maybe some relatives would believe her version forever. Maybe my mother would slip and ask again. Maybe my father would spend years regretting what he did not stop. Maybe Noah would understand when he was older. Or maybe he would not. I could not control the story everyone told about me. I could only control whether I kept living inside it. That night, I made coffee even though it was late. I opened the balcony door and let the cool air in. City lights blinked in the distance. Somewhere below, a siren wailed and faded. The world kept moving, indifferent and alive. I stood there with my mug in both hands and thought of the girl I had been, 22 years old, paying bills in a house where her money took up more space than she did, sleeping under the weight of gratitude twisted into debt, building her escape in the dark while everyone called it wasting electricity. I wished I could go back and tell her one thing. Not that it would stop hurting. It would hurt. Not that everyone would understand. They wouldn't. Not that leaving would make her fearless. It wouldn't. I would tell her this. The moment you choose yourself, the people who benefited from your self-abandonment will call it betrayal. Let them. I took a sip of coffee. The condo was quiet behind me. My keys were on the counter. My laptop was safe on my desk. My money was in accounts only I controlled. My bed was mine. My room was mine. My life was mine. And finally, completely, I understood. I had not abandoned my family. I had stopped abandoning myself.